An all-new 2020 starts right now.
Sheriff's office, make yourselves known.
No, it's just a little crawl space.
This is a dark, creepy space. You got to be ready for anything.
Absolutely. The clock was ticking. We needed to find them.
The steepest stairs I've ever seen.
The Haldersons are gone. They're missing.
Well, what do you mean they're missing? I can't even comprehend what that means.
The story is a couple came and picked them up and took them to the cabin.
And nobody knew who that couple was.
There was a concern that Bart and Krista had been kidnapped by this couple that picked them up early that morning.
There were all these questions. For each answer you get, there are 17 more questions.
What's going on in the household? You know, what aren't we discovering?
This case really highlighted how social media tracks everything. And that became so crucial.
I was like, hey, where you at? Where you at? Like, you're not responding to me on Snapchat.
You've got to get to that cabin. You've got to get to that cabin right now to figure out what happened.
Her mind goes to, did the worst happen?
So what happens next?
He kind of had the craziest phone call that I had in my law enforcement career. He couldn't say much, but I should probably watch the news the next day.
Holy. I don't really have words for it, to be honest.
Of July. It's a day when people come together to celebrate our independence and the spirit of America. And that's what you'll see in Madison, Wisconsin.
4th of July celebrations have been going on all weekend, but of course Americans are going all out today.
The lakes are really core to the identity of Madison. Just being around water, being around nature is really big to a lot of people here.
Madison is Wisconsin's gorgeous capital city. Built on a strip of land connecting Lakes Monona and Mendota, generations of families have come here to lay roots. But as residents of a small town just north of here would come to know, secrets, lies, and betrayal don't stop at these shores.
Bart and Krista Halderson lived in a community called Windsor, just north of Madison. Everyone who knew the Haldersons loved them.
We used to have a horseshoe league. Bart and Krista were on a horseshoe team. We competed against them 2-3 times a year. And just being neighbors, they were just people that ran into all the time. Absolutely salt of the earth people were Bart and Krista. Their house always looked good. It was well manicured, it was well mowed, it was always taken care of.
There were competitions in the neighborhood about who had the best lawn and who cared the most about their yards, and Bart cared about his yard.
Krista is an administrative assistant for a local auto shop, and Bart is an accountant.
Bart and Krista, they weren't rich, but they were comfortable.
Yeah, they were just regular people trying to do their best.
She was the youngest cousin, bright red hair. She was the baby of the family.
Barbie Townsend grew up in Southern California, but would often visit her younger cousin Krista at the family's rustic cabin in northern Wisconsin.
Krista was fun, energetic, creative. She just was very exuberant, very outgoing.
Happy person, it sounds
Very
like.
happy, yeah. Loved her lot in life.
I know you got to know Bart a little bit later, but what was he like?
I was happy for her that she found her person, and they were a really good team.
They complemented each other.
Definitely, definitely. You know, he would have his strengths and she would have her strengths, but they always were together.
Barbie told me that nothing matters more to Krista and Bart than their 2 sons, Mitchell and Chandler.
They poured themselves into their children. They did family nights, game nights. They would cook dinner, barbecue together. In spring 2021, Krista had sent a picture of them all standing together. She was so proud of them. Mitchell had been with his girlfriend at that time about 7 years, and Chandler had been with Kat maybe 2 years, on and off.
Mitchell, the oldest, works in IT, and he lives with his fiancée, not far from his parents' home. And Chandler, an Eagle Scout, is a young man on the rise. He's working part-time for an insurance company, living at home while finishing his college degree. And that's not all.
Chandler had told his family about this great job opportunity he had been given with SpaceX. He would move to Florida, and actually he would bring his girlfriend with him.
Everything was going well for everyone. I don't know any family who wouldn't want to be in the situation the Haldersons were in.
But in June of 2021, the Haldersons' good fortune takes a turn.
Their eldest son, Mitchell, was diagnosed with diabetes. And then right after that, their younger son, Chandler, fell down a flight of stairs at the Haldersons' home.
He was taken to the hospital, and he was diagnosed with a head injury.
In that picture, on Father's Day of 2021, standing next to Bart, he's got the brace on. His neck was injured and it was going to affect his ability to walk. He might have a colostomy bag, he couldn't fly, so he couldn't go back to Florida for the job. Like his whole life was going to change because he had this fall.
I know once he was in that neck brace, his job situation with SpaceX was kind of pushed on the back burner.
It seemed like he would not be able to take the job at SpaceX. He wouldn't be able to help around the house. He wasn't even able to walk properly. And after that, Chandler required help. His mother would assist him going up and down stairs, would bring him meals.
Although Krista doted on her sons in their time of need, she rarely missed a day of work. So on Friday morning, July 2nd, when she fails to show up at her job, co-workers are concerned.
Krista was one of these people who was always at work, and she always let people know what her plans were.
It's a Friday right before the 4th of July holiday, but she hadn't asked off. She hadn't told anyone she wasn't going to be there. It was really unusual for her to not show up for work. She'd never done it before.
She wasn't answering her phone. A co-worker decided to go over to the house and make sure she was okay. When he looked in the garage, both of the Haldersons' cars were there.
The Haldersons aren't here. Their cars are here. Where are the Haldersons?
Now, the Haldersons have a family cabin they love to go to on weekends. And initially, there's some speculation that this is where Bart and Krista are. But none of the neighbors saw them leave.
As far as we know, no one saw the Haldersons that day.
They told their neighbors when they were going up to the cabin, who they were going to be with, where they were going to be. So for there to be so many unknowns about what happened that weekend was a little unusual.
And when Krista fails to make a medical appointment on Monday, it really raises red flags.
She was recovering from some skin cancer, and so this was an important appointment for her.
Is it like her to just miss that appointment or not tell anybody she wasn't going to make it?
No, Chris is not the person that would just not show up.
Everyone who knows her says she wouldn't have missed that appointment. She was planning to be there, and then she wasn't. And that's when people really start to get concerned, because no one knows where Bart and Krista are.
All of a sudden, my wife comes in the bedroom and she says, the Haldersons are gone. They're missing. My mind went to the bad spot, like, that is not right. It was just kind of disturbing for somebody that I know that well to suddenly be gone.
What's going through your mind?
Something's really wrong. I don't know what and why and how, but something's really wrong.
The strange disappearance of Bart and Krista Halderson is a mystery, captivating local Wisconsiners.
Are we rolling?
We're rolling now.
Including a pair of podcasters.
I'm Jill.
And I'm Richard.
And we do the True Crime Brewery podcast. We're very fascinated with true crime and just love to really figure out what's going on behind the scenes.
Ready.
So, we've been talking more and more about these cases.
Their podcast, as the name suggests, mixes suds.
We pick a beer from the area the crime occurred.
With sleuthing.
Today we're covering a case from Wisconsin.
And have I got a beer for you?
I feel like it brings together the personality of the city where the crime happened. Bart and Krista Halderson, they're just everybody's neighbor, everybody's family member, just working hard, trying to take care of their children, trying to provide the best for their family.
Bart and Krista just loved the 4th of July. You could always catch them at the parade. It was probably their favorite holiday.
But that weekend, in July 2021, strangely, the couple are nowhere to be found.
Bart and Krista had not told anyone that they had a plan to go away for 4th of July weekend.
There's no explanation forthcoming as to why they're not there.
So the only time people heard from Bart and Krista over the 4th of July weekend was when Krista texted Chandler on July 4th.
The text to her son Chandler says they arrived at the family cabin 3 hours north. It read, "Made it safely. Love you lots."
Their friends learned that she had reached out to him, which made sense. She was a mom who talked to her kids all the time.
This is where we hung out and collected rocks and played games. So this is early on. It's my dad, and that's the cabin in the background.
And that's Krista right there.
This is Krista.
I can always tell Krista by that shock of red hair.
Fiery red hair.
Yeah.
And she was the youngest.
The cabin has been in Barbie and Krista's family since the 1940s, when it was built by their grandfather.
That was like the heart and soul of our extended family. The cabin was our way to get back together and be together. There was no phone, no indoor plumbing, very rustic.
Sounds like this was a place where you and Krista really bonded.
The cabin was where we would reunite.
Chandler had told family members he knew his parents were going to the cabin for the weekend, but he was expecting them home by Tuesday the 6th. Now, Tuesday's come and gone, and the couple seems to have vanished.
How did you learn that Bart and Krista were missing?
I got an email from my cousin that said, "Please pray, Bart and Krista are missing." And I remember thinking, what do you mean they're missing? I can't even comprehend what that means. And so we started calling cousins, like what's happening?
On July 7th, 6 days after Bart and Krista were last seen, Chandler heads to the Dane County Sheriff's Office to report his parents missing.
Chandler says, "I haven't seen my parents. We need to start looking for them."
Detectives Sabrina Sims and Brian Shunk will lead the investigation, and they meet with Chandler later that day at the Halderson home in Windsor.
At that point, you're here just trying to figure out what happened.
Yeah, just to ask more follow-up questions and trying to get the timeline of events.
His parents left around 5 a.m., basically left without a peep. From everything that you knew about Bart and Krista, was that the kind of thing they do?
No, we were learning from friends and family that that's completely out of character for them to not tell people where they were going.
Chandler tells detectives that his parents planned to fix a water pump and a fire pit up at the cabin, and that both were damaged in a recent storm. So he says he helped them pack supplies, including a pipe wrench, a hatchet, and gas cans for a chainsaw.
He also said that they brought alcohol and cash with them.
He mentioned they were maybe going to a casino to go gambling. We learned that it's out of character for them to go gambling and that the Haldersons, especially Bart, was pretty frugal with his money.
When investigators inspect the Halderson home, they see both Bart and Krista's cars are still in the garage.
Both their cars are still there. So what's going on with that? Chandler says, well, they went with this other couple. I don't know who they are, but they took the other couple's car.
Chandler tells detectives that his parents left in an unknown vehicle, and when detectives review neighbors' home security cameras, they spot a white van driving down the Halderson street in the early morning hours on Friday, July 2nd. Could this van be the vehicle driven by that mystery couple?
We were looking for a van. It was an unknown vehicle, and then we saw it on surveillance camera.
Hoping he might know who the couple is, investigators speak to Chandler's older brother, Mitchell, who lives close by. But he says as far as he knows, none of his parents' friends went with them to the cabin.
Nobody knew who that couple was. No phone numbers, no names, nothing. I mean, for them to drive up to the cabin with somebody that nobody even knew who they were, that was very odd. Where's the other couple? That was the other thing. Where's the other couple? because no one's heard from them, whoever they are.
They're gone. Their cars are here. What are you thinking?
I think at that point we decided we need to send a team up to the cabin.
You've got to get to that cabin right now to figure out what happened.
Yeah.
I have to imagine that your mind starts going to terrible places.
Yeah, your mind starts thinking all kinds of things.
And when investigators finally reach the cabin in the woods,
Sheriff's office, make yourselves known.
what or who will be lurking in the shadows?
What's a little crawl space? Holy.
I'm Bill Chandler. I'm a member of the Wolf River Fire Department and Rescue in Langlade County, northeast Wisconsin. With all the recreation we've got here, and we've got a big area, people do get turned around, they go missing, and then that's usually then when we get called out. The Wolf River area is really a nice area, fairly lightly populated, but we've got a lot of great recreation. We've got the Wolf River, very popular fishing stream, lots of recreational opportunities. We've got the rapids on the river go up to Class 3. We've got heavily wooded area. Much of our township is in the 𝐅𝐔𝐋𝐋 National Forest.
And Wolf River is the area where Bart and Krista Halderson had their family cabin and where they were supposed to spend the 4th of July weekend.
It's a beautiful place, but it can be a dangerous place. Like anywhere that's completely natural and completely wild, there are pitfalls to that. A river can easily become someplace you drown. The woods can easily become someplace you're lost. And so it's not unheard of for people to go missing in this area.
Now, back in July of 21, our chief got a call from one of the Langlade County deputies and said that, we may be needed.
Cell service isn't fantastic out here either. Weather always seems to change, but crime never does.
I'm Detective Sergeant Groans with Lane
On
Lake.
July 8th, I received a call to assist the Dane County Sheriff's Office with a search of the Halderson cabin. As an investigator, I was assigned a body camera, which was activated when we arrived at the property.
What's your relation? You're their son. Okay, all right.
So this footage we're looking at here, it's recorded by your body camera.
That's correct.
Okay. And who are you speaking to here?
This was Mitchell Halderson and his fiancée.
1 week after his parents mysteriously vanished, Mitchell tells investigators that he's so concerned about his parents' well-being that he and his fiancée make the 3-hour drive north to the cabin.
They seemed concerned and also as perplexed as we were about Bart and Krista Halderson's whereabouts.
Maybe we could just take a walk around and see you.
So at that point, we took a walk around the exterior of the property. We noticed that the grass and the weeds had not been kept up. In some places it was waist or even chest high.
Did it look like the cabin had been in use?
It certainly didn't look like it had been used any time recently.
They start walking around, and everything's still locked up. The grass is really tall.
What first struck me when they were walking, I was like, that's our cabin. That's our family cabin.
Was there a sense of urgency at this point?
With the information we had and things not really making sense, our possibilities were dwindling. I was starting to just wonder what we were going to find next.
And I was worried they were going to be inside. That's what I thought. Something went horribly wrong. Yeah, that was very disturbing.
Sheriff's office, anybody inside?
There was a concern that Bart and Krista had been kidnapped by this couple that picked them up early that morning, and something had been done to them by them.
Announce your presence, make yourselves known.
I think the police were very concerned that they were going to find 2 dead people there.
But once inside, despite everyone's worst fears, the cabin appears empty to police.
It was dark, so you could tell nobody had been there for a while.
Every single indication shows that this cabin has been empty.
The steepest stairs I've ever seen.
As Detective Groans makes his way through the cabin, he spots a door to the cellar. So right about here, you draw your gun. Why?
Yeah, whenever we go into an unknown space, that's something that we would do just in our own safety.
So for an outsider, this is a dark, creepy space. You got to be ready for anything.
Absolutely.
There's a little crawl space. Holy.
But nothing there either.
Nobody inside and nothing looks like it's disturbed.
So after searching the cabin, investigators make their way down to the lake to check on the shed.
There's all these outbuildings, boathouses and sheds, and all these little tiny buildings that could offer places for people to be. My thought was that Krista was being held in one of those. That's what I thought.
Was there any concern that they might have been held captive in a place like this or been held against their will?
With the padlocks on the outside, it is something that we definitely considered.
They break the padlock on the boathouse, but Bart and Krista are nowhere to be found.
I don't know a ton of details about everything that's gone on.
You're filming Mitchell. What are you hearing from him at this point?
Mitchell seemed concerned, and I feel as we went further into the search and we weren't finding any signs of Bart and Krista, his concern became more and more greater as the search of the property continued.
He said his brother texted him that they did make it safely.
Out of like reading back through stuff, they just said we're going up north.
So at this point, for you, this is a mystery, right?
This is definitely a mystery. We don't know who Bart and Krista are believed to be with. There are no signs of Bart and Krista being at this property.
Do you know, did they have any friends, like they might have gone to their cabin in the area?
I have to assume they came up to someone else's cabin, but I don't know who.
Really nowhere for us to even suggest looking next at this point. We didn't have anywhere to go. We didn't have a name. We didn't have a vehicle. We didn't have a location. Truly looking for a needle in a 900 square mile haystack.
And then the question is, okay, if they're not at the cabin, where are they?
There were no bodies, there was no anything. So we didn't know what happened, but of course your mind goes to, did the worst happen? Are Bart and Krista still alive?
As investigators and volunteers prepare to scour the county in search of the missing couple, news is spreading about Bart and Krista's disappearance.
We have team coverage on these breaking developments. Bart Halderson and his wife Krista have not been seen since July 1st.
What happens next?
Had the craziest phone call that I had in my law enforcement career. He said that our services were really no longer needed at that point, and then said that he couldn't say much, but I should probably watch the news the next day.
Authorities are still searching for a Windsor couple who have not been seen in days.
My wife is pretty shook up too. I mean, they're a very nice couple, very nice family.
It's been a week since Bart and Krista Halderson were last seen. And while Mitchell Halderson is up at the family cabin searching for his parents, his younger brother Chandler is back home in Windsor, canvassing the neighborhood. He's seen on the neighbor's home security camera footage obtained by investigators.
What are you seeing on the home security footage later?
Chandler was going around to neighbors. You would see that they had Ring cameras or some type of security cameras on the outside of their homes. So he was going and asking them, you know, if they had reviewed the video footage.
Remember, one of those neighbors' home security cameras captured this mysterious white van, but it led investigators to a dead end. And yet, Chandler presses on.
Chandler is recorded on one Ring camera asking a neighbor about their security system.
And anyone would have like security cameras and stuff like that.
We do.
He's going from neighbor to neighbor asking them, hey, this camera, I see it. Does it point at the road? Does it see our driveway? What does this see?
Take care of things. Bye.
Chandler approaches another neighbor's house and waves to the camera.
My name is Chandler Halderson. I live just down the road.
Oh, yes.
And there's one house where they have more of a professional surveillance system on the home. So he speaks to the woman there.
If you were able to capture the road or my house.
They discuss camera angles and whether their camera has night vision.
He discovers that one is a wide-angled camera. He looks to see what part of the street that would cover.
Yeah, did it capture anything on?
We don't know.
You can see he's really sleuthing, trying to uncover whatever evidence these neighbors may have.
He was asking questions such as, can you see the road? Can you see vehicles drive by? He's out trying to figure out if anything was seen on the outside of his home at that point, you know, from when his parents went missing.
He asks, could there be any footage of my parents being driven away early in the morning on the 2nd? Do you have any footage? It would be maybe helpful to the investigation to see what kind of car picked them up, of course.
One household actually told him that police had already collected the video.
The police actually came and downloaded everything they have. So they were here, I think till like 9 o'clock last night, and downloaded all the video she's got.
Chandler walks up to yet another neighbor's house and rings their bell. The neighbor, a retired detective with the Madison Police Department, tells Chandler to meet him in the garage so that they can talk.
Hey, I'll meet you in the garage, okay?
The neighbor says he had a gut feeling that he should record the conversation, which he would later turn over to police.
Sorry about what's going on. What it is, but I was wondering if your door camera...
You do have it right now.
Does it pick up the road?
Some, yes, some it does.
Would you have any notifications from Friday morning, early, before 6:15?
We can check. That's not a problem.
Chandler's quest doesn't end there.
Bart and Krista Halderson of Windsor had plans for the 4th.
He heads to WKOW, an ABC news station in Madison, which has been broadcasting Bart and Krista's photo.
At this point, Chandler, he talks to reporters.
But Chandler says he's reticent to go on camera, saying he fears retaliation from whoever may have taken his parents.
He thinks people might be targeting him. He says, is someone out to get my family? I don't want to be on camera, but I want people to hear from me. I want people to know I'm looking for my parents. And so he does an interview with a reporter from our station.
Their son, Chandler Halderson, who asked to be off camera, says whoever his parents were traveling with from this neighborhood were to do the driving. He says he received a text from his mother.
She got back to me. They made it safely. Their plans were going up with their friends and do some minor repairs on our cabin.
Did you literally see them pulling out of the driveway, heading out?
No.
With the town now buzzing about the missing couple, Chandler's back at home, and he notices a different kind of activity outside his window.
Chandler sees this uptick in police activity outside his house, so he calls Detective Schunk to find out what's happening. That phone call was recorded.
He was asking if everything was okay. He was asking why there were so many police in his neighborhood.
A little confused. I got 2 squads parked right outside my house. Is everything all right?
And I had to explain to him, you know, we were canvassing the neighborhood. Yeah, I mean, well, they're probably doing reports.
All right.
Any news on your end at all? Have you gotten any phone calls, text messages?
Gotten any messages other than from concerned parents?
Well, I'll keep you posted if I hear anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Later that night, Chandler comes voluntarily into the Dane County Sheriff's Office, where investigators bring him into this room and seat him in this chair.
So if you just want to have a seat right there, perfect. Thank you so much.
This? Or...
Sure, that's fine.
He's wearing a baseball cap, a sweatshirt, and a furrowed brow.
Just so you know, I'm gonna record stuff, okay?
In that police interview, Chandler talks about the last meal he had with his parents on July 1st, right before they left for the cabin.
That's where they told me while we were eating it, they were gonna go with their friends, and I was like, oh, cool.
And they said they were going to the cabin.
Yeah.
Well,
okay. We're going up north. That's how they were referring to it.
Chandler says that by the next morning, his parents had left, never to be heard from again, except for that one reassuring text from his mother.
Nothing else. Yeah, so that's fishy to me.
But investigators are skeptical too, and here's why. They know something Chandler doesn't.
I can't tell you what we know, but we know you're not telling us the truth.
Investigators have asked Chandler Halderson to come in for an interview, and they've also asked for his girlfriend, Kat Melender, to come in as well. Both agree to come in voluntarily, and they're in separate rooms while police act on a new tip that's come to their attention.
A farmer in Cottage Grove, a town about 20 miles away from the Halderson home in Windsor, reports a suspicious sighting earlier in the week.
That's when they find something that really changes this entire investigation.
One of the residents at the farm said that Chandler had come over to the house on July 5th with a vehicle and backed it up against some wooded property and saw him walking from the wooded area and found that to be unusual.
You start searching the farm. You notice something overhead. What was that?
One of the detectives noticed what he believed to be turkey vultures flying around over the wooded portion.
What is a turkey vulture?
Turkey vultures are large birds that feed off typically dead animals. They're scavengers.
What does that trigger in your mind?
He said that from his past professional experience, it kind of indicates that, you know, there's something dead in the area.
And was this in the area or a similar area where Chandler's car had been parked?
Yes. So the detective ended up walking the path that he believed that Chandler was on.
They start to look a little bit closer. They go into the woods and then they see a pile that doesn't look normal.
There, amidst the matted grass, investigators discover what appears to be the torso of an unidentified male body.
It was determined that the individual was shot, dismembered after they were killed.
Hidden inside an oil drum near the body, investigators find a pair of scissors, a saw blade, and bolt cutters. But even with this grisly discovery, investigators will have to wait for the medical examiner to confirm that it is indeed Bart Halderson.
I mean, things at that point really changed for everybody in the case.
So right there, at that moment, this goes from a missing persons case to a homicide.
Yes.
But here's what else has investigators intrigued. That farm has a link to someone very close to the Haldersons.
So the farm in Cottage Grove, it's Chandler's girlfriend's family. They're there over 4th of July weekend. They're celebrating.
While you have Chandler, you have Kat in another room.
Oh, there's a Pooh Bear? All right, you can play with it if you want to.
Kat draws a smiley face on a sequin pillow and clutches a Winnie the Pooh bear. A detective offers Kat a cookie to help put her at ease.
I can't eat well when I'm nervous, so. Okay. Can nibble with the cookie. Yeah. Baby steps.
There's no chocolate in there.
Yeah. Test the waters, make sure the police aren't trying to poison me.
No, we're not.
So tell me about what's happening here.
We just wanted to hear her side of the story as she's the one that was closest to Chandler.
Talking to Kat Melander, investigators find out that Chandler visited the farm on the 4th of July with her, but the next day he returns to the farm alone, unannounced.
No one really knew he was coming. He came there alone.
Chandler went to the farm because my mom's fiance lets him walk in the pool because it helps stretch out his legs, make him feel better.
Except he wasn't using the pool. Kat's mom and her fiance say they saw his car parked on the property, but no sign of Chandler. Until...
When they're in the pool, they look up and they see Chandler now walking. He doesn't have his shirt on. He comes to the pool and says, "Hey, can I get in the pool too?"
He was supposed to be there swimming in the family pool because he needed to swim for some therapy he needed to do. He was not swimming. She saw him coming from the wooded area and found that to be unusual.
Oh, okay. So what struck her is while he was supposed to maybe be there to swim for his therapy, he was not swimming.
Correct.
What I find interesting is you ask her, would anybody want to harm the Haldersons?
Any friends or relatives that they've been having problems with that you can think of? No?
No. I just can't see someone killing them. Like, that's the thing. Like I thought, like, maybe they got into a car accident, like, maybe their car's on the side of the road, like, I even thought, like, maybe that happened and someone took them to the hospital and they're just Jane and John Doe. Like, if someone killed them, it would have to be someone they, like, didn't know.
She seems generally like, are you kidding me? No, not them. What do you make of that? What do you make of her response to whether or not somebody would want to harm them?
I think that she's telling an accurate story there, talking to friends and family members. No one would want to hurt the Haldersons.
Did you get the sense that she thought that Chandler had anything to do with this?
You don't think he had anything to do with his mom and dad being unheard from?
No. 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 All my friends I've talked to, they're like, no, not Chandler, no. Like, that'd be crazy. I just don't see him killing Mr. and Mrs. Halderson. Like, he had SpaceX. Like, why would he jeopardize something he, like, would dream of?
I don't think she thought he had anything to do with it.
Not even suspicions, not even maybe, just nothing to do with it. Couldn't be Chandler.
Now remember, detectives in that interview room haven't told Chandler about any of these discoveries they've made, but that's about to change.
How does him not knowing about that human torso affect the way you interview him, the way you talk to him?
Hey Chandler, how are you doing?
So the way we wanted to interview him initially was to have him lay out the story of what he was telling us from the first night.
So I think it's time we start talking about what happened to your parents. Like the truthful version.
So at that point, after we let him tell his entire story, we confront him and say that we know more than what he believes. We told him to come clean, basically not using those words, and we told him to tell us the truth.
Listen to me. This is the only chance you're gonna have to tell us the truth. Okay?
That's when investigators lower the boom on Chandler.
This is your chance to tell us why. Okay? I'm not BSing you. Okay? So can we do that?
Now, it's time for the really hard questions.
There's still another half of this couple that's missing.
If this turns out to be Bart's body, where is Krista Halderson?
So your mind starts thinking, well, what about Krista? You know, where's she? What happened to her?
No one's seen Krista, no one knows where Krista is, but they also haven't found a body. So the question is Krista still alive? If she is, where is she?
And this all leads some to be asking, is Chandler covering up for his mom? Could she have had something to do with Bart's disappearance?
This wasn't a normal disappearance. This wasn't a normal homicide. Every new detail made the case stranger.
The human remains found Thursday are connected to the missing couple, Bart Halderson and Krista Halderson.
You have search teams up there, you have dogs.
So now, where is Krista? Could it be that she was also involved in Bart's murder?
Is she going to be held hostage? Is she being tortured?
Time is of the essence. You have to find Krista.
Yes.
This second time with the search warrant, we have crime scene investigators that are in the home going through everything.
We're in the basement. What did you find down here?
Down here, we found traces of blood on both sides of the basement.
I don't really have words for it, to be honest. I just don't know how somebody could do that to somebody else.
Cameras all around. We know that Bart went into that home and never came out.
Everything seems so evil. Chilling. Unbelievable.
It's July 8th in Madison, Wisconsin. It's been a week since Bart and Krista Halderson were last seen. It can really feel warm there in the summer, even when you're not under the microscopic lens of the police.
What's going on?
Bart and Krista Halderson's youngest son, Chandler, is being interviewed by police, but he hasn't yet been charged in their disappearance. Now, police are playing coy with him. They haven't yet revealed the discovery of a body at that farm in Cottage Grove.
Listen, I can't tell you what we know, but we know you're not telling us the truth. We know your parents are no longer with us, okay? And we know the reason why.
So far, nothing Chandler's told police has panned out. He told them and everyone else his parents went up to the cabin for the 4th of July weekend with some other couple, and nobody knows who they are. A search of the cabin clearly showed no one recently had been there.
You need to tell the truth about what happened and just tell us why it happened. Okay? If something happened, if you were defending yourself, or if you just got fed up with stuff, you need to tell us the truth, okay? This is your chance to tell us why, okay? I'm not BSing you, okay? So can we do that?
Okay, they're okay. Lawyer. I'm sorry. Say it again, Chandler. Lawyer. Okay.
Chandler asking for a lawyer effectively ends the interview on the spot.
Tell me what you're taking from all this as trained investigators who have to question people like this.
The first thing that really stood out in my mind is when Detective Hendrickson told Chandler that his parents are no longer with us.
We know your parents are no longer with us, okay, and we know the reason why.
There wasn't the huge shock reaction that I believe most people would display.
At this point, Chandler's not charged with murder, but he is charged with something else. Tell me about that.
Yeah, Chandler was charged with providing false information in a missing persons case. He was telling us that his parents had gone to a cabin up north, when in all reality we found that his parents didn't go anywhere at all.
Their son Chandler was arrested Thursday for allegedly providing false information to investigators.
Four days after Chandler's arrest, the autopsy results on the remains found at the farm come back.
The Dane County Medical Examiner confirms the human remains found last Thursday are those of 50-year-old Bart Halderson. A preliminary autopsy indicates he was murdered.
It was determined that the individual was shot, dismembered after they were killed, and was positively identified as Bart Halderson.
Okay, so what did you think when you got those results back?
It confirmed our suspicions of who it was, but now we had more evidence that we could charge Chandler with the homicide.
When I found out that Bart was dead, it was anger. It was, wow, this is real life. And there was just this big void of Bart being gone and no idea where Krista was.
A big question remained in our mind: where's Krista Halderson?
So now, where is Krista? Could it be that she was also involved in Bart's murder?
There were a few people that I communicated with. Well, maybe Krista's involved.
One theory was this an incident where Krista killed her husband, but her son lives with them and he loves his mom. Was he covering for her? Was she responsible? There were all these questions. Again, it was one of those things. One layer gets pulled back, you get one answer, but for each answer you get, there are 17 more questions.
You're asking the question of where's Krista. There was some talk in the community about perhaps maybe in some way, once the murder charges are out there, Krista had some sort of involvement in what happened with Bart. Did you pursue that theory?
No, I mean, we did not believe that she would have anything to do with it. Of course, as time is going on and days are passing, we're learning more information about their whereabouts. We had surveillance video we were reviewing, trying to get a timeline from July 1st to July 7th. And so what we were learning did not suggest that Krista had any involvement at all.
Because I knew Krista and I knew her personality, I knew Krista was not involved.
It seemed like something you read about, not happening to our family. Somebody else, you read about that, something happening somewhere else to somebody else, and that was happening to our family.
What are you thinking there?
We had this tiny little hope that she was alive somewhere.
Authorities are holding out hope, too, and ask the public for help to somehow find Krista alive.
We are optimistic in regards to her whereabouts and where she's at, and we will let the evidence of this investigation tell us otherwise.
Perhaps the most troubling question authorities are left with, why? This was a loving family. Why would Chandler, or anyone else for that matter, want either of the Haldersons dead? It didn't seem to add up.
I was starting to have that like sinking feeling in my stomach, like something went wrong in the family. I don't know what.
Facing at least one murder charge, Chandler is lawyered up and not talking. But someone very close to him is.
She had her cell phone back and had found something in her cell phone that she wanted to provide to us.
It's from Snapchat. I don't know if you use the app.
And you know how Snapchat messages disappear? One of Chandler's didn't.
The man accused of killing his father
is now being held in jail on a tentative charge of first-degree intentional homicide, hiding a corpse, and mutilating a corpse.
Sheriff's personnel tonight remain at the Halderson home in Windsor.
Investigators are leaving no stone unturned in the search for Krista Halderson. But with Chandler now in custody, hope is fading fast. Every minute that passes becomes more crucial.
And there was just this big void of Bart being gone and no idea where Krista was. I'm hoping she's alive.
A big question remained in our mind: where's Krista Halderson?
But things are about to take a dramatic turn. When police first spoke to Chandler's girlfriend, Kat Melander, she voluntarily gave them her cell phone. And on it, they found a vital clue to their investigation. By the time Kat comes in for a second interview, both she and police realize how important it can be.
Is there something you want to tell us right away?
She comes to the realization that she didn't tell us everything and that she had something on her phone that could be helpful and valuable to finding the Haldersons. And it wasn't something that she intentionally withheld from us.
Tell me what you find on Kat's cell phone.
During the review of Kat's cell phone, we found numerous clues and treasures that I don't even know she knew she had. We found all of their message history, and we also found a screenshot of a Snapchat location that she had had.
That screenshot saved on Kat's phone shows Chandler's avatar labeled hubby on the banks of the Wisconsin River. Snapchat is a social media app specifically designed to share photos that disappear. Once you open a message, you only have a few seconds to take a screenshot before that picture is gone for good. In 2017, Snapchat added the feature Snap Map, which also lets you share your location with friends in real time.
And why did she have him on Snapchat in the first place?
They had a time in their relationship where he had cheated on her. She had his location services on for Snapchat. It was an agreement they had. She wanted to be able to know his whereabouts.
With her lawyer present and her cell phone in hand, she voluntarily talks police through what she now realizes could be critical evidence, a technological smoking gun.
It's from Snapchat. I don't know if you use the app, but that's him by the Wisconsin River off of Gulf Road.
Okay.
And that's
It's got a timestamp on it.
Okay.
in the morning.
Sure.
And then my phone always tells me what day it is, so it's July 3rd, 8:58 a.m.
The continued presence of sheriff's personnel at the Halderson home has become almost background for this neighborhood here. Krista Halderson remains missing.
With the case in the news, Kat and her lawyer decide this information could be useful to police and to Kat.
Right before Kat goes back for that second interview, we're getting updates from law enforcement, and one of those comes in the form of a press briefing. And a reporter asks, is the girlfriend a suspect? And the sheriff didn't answer. And that freaked Kat out.
Is there any way you guys can change the narrative to indicate that the girlfriend's not a suspect and that she's not somehow somebody you suspect?
How early did you clear Kat Melander?
Pretty early on, once we started looking at her phone and finding out other information about Chandler. But there were, different investigators in the command post that had different theories. Was she in the circle? Was she out of the circle? And we just had to do our job and let the evidence lead us to the conclusion, and she was not involved whatsoever.
Law enforcement was very clear. They don't think Kat had anything to do with these murders.
Why do you think she was so eager to offer all this information?
I think because she wanted to clear herself.
Why did she do a screenshot of a snap map on Chandler at that time?
She had left Chandler's house that morning on Saturday, and he was supposed to go to do some chores. And then she later looked at his location and saw that he was up by the Wisconsin River.
She goes, this is where he was, middle of the morning on Saturday, after his parents went missing. He told me he was going to be doing chores at his house, and then he wasn't answering, and I checked Snapchat, and he's in this random area right along a river.
She didn't know why he was there, so she started questioning him about his location and what he was doing there.
I was like, hey, where you at? Where you at? Like, you're not responding to me on Snapchat. And like, we ended up calling, and he just said like he was in a dead zone.
Kat knows this area. It's a swimming hole. She's been with Chandler. They'd been that summer.
Have you been to that spot? Do you know?
I don't know if it's that specific spot, but we used to swim on the Wisconsin River.
Okay.
And like it's one of the spots we would just go to. And like I've only been there like maybe 3 times.
Okay.
But he's gone swimming there a couple times.
Okay.
In fact, other friends told police that was Chandler's favorite swimming spot. A year earlier, an ex-girlfriend receives this picture, which she gave to police, of Chandler in that area, posing with a tree and a knife in his hand.
This case really highlighted how social media tracks everything. And that became so crucial in this case.
But as enlightening as this Snapchat evidence is, a treasure trove of text messages between Kat and Chandler is even more intriguing. Investigators zero in on a couple of erratic texts from Chandler the morning Bart and Krista vanished, which sound ominous. I don't know. Stuff hasn't really been going well for me lately, so I'm trying to plan for the next thing to expletive me over. Yeah, I just had a great future planned, and it's falling apart. Kat replies, no, it's not. You're going to be okay. With suspicions of Chandler now high as ever, investigators obtain a search warrant and go back to the Halderson home.
They go back to the nexus of this case, the Haldersons' home in Windsor. Investigators start walking through, and they find a lot in that house, a lot that tells us what happened.
The Dane County Sheriff's Office now considers this to be a homicide investigation. That's because they found the remains of Bart Halderson late last week in a rural area of the town of Cottage Grove.
On July 11th, a judge authorizes a search warrant of the Halderson home in Windsor.
It's where they were living with Chandler. It was the last place we know Bart and Krista were. So investigators start walking through.
Investigators are familiar with the home as they'd been there just a few days earlier.
To step back a little bit, this isn't the first time you've been to the house, right?
Right.
Okay, so what did you do the first time when you were in the house? What did you find?
When we were in the house the first night on July 7th, Chandler did walk us around after we interviewed him and showed us what he wanted us to see around the home.
As the investigators entered the den on that initial search, they noticed the fireplace looked not quite right.
It has a glass front, 4 glass panels, or there's supposed to be 4, but one of them is missing.
There was a glass panel that was broken out in the fireplace, and he had disclosed that to deputies and to us the first night we were in there, and explained it that he was playing ball with one of the dogs, and the dogs broke the glass fireplace. And so that was his story.
Dog broke a panel, there was broken glass everywhere. I was cleaning it up, I cut my foot, I got some blood everywhere.
Chandler's saying there's broken glass and there was a lot of blood, but it's not related at all to this case. It was my dog's.
And when they look at his foot, they realize it's not a huge cut. He didn't slash the bottom of his foot open. It looks kind of more like a pinprick. Not necessarily something that seems like it would come from glass being all over the floor.
You found his blood, but did that line up with what he said about cutting his foot? And that's why that blood was there? Or was it that you might have gotten the sense that it was something different?
It could mean that Chandler had cut his toe near the fireplace, but it wouldn't explain why Bart and Krista's blood would be in the same area.
And on that second search of the home, luminol testing would reveal traces of blood belonging to Bart and Krista Halderson in the living room, leading investigators to believe they've both been murdered. But as they continue their search, they find more ominous evidence.
During the search warrant, we did find 2 cell phones and Bart and Krista's driver's licenses wrapped in tinfoil in a shoe in the garage.
What does that tell you?
That told us that Bart and Krista didn't go anywhere.
And how does that poke holes in what Chandler told you?
Chandler had told us that he was messaging back and forth with his mother, Krista, on Sunday, and that Krista was messaging him that they made it, and that they were going to be watching the fireworks and the parade. We found that that was not true.
How could she be texting him if her phone is sitting right there wrapped up in aluminum foil?
Yes.
The phone proved that Bart and Krista never left their house. They never went to the cabin. The only other person who was home was Chandler.
Do you have any sense of why they were wrapped in aluminum foil?
I think Chandler thought that would protect them from cell phone towers.
Detectives also did an extensive search of Chandler Halderson's bedroom, resembling something like an armory.
So in Chandler's bedroom, we actually located a case of approximately 480 SKS rifle rounds.
So we're in the basement now. What did you find down here?
Down here, we found traces of blood on both sides of the basement. We had the shell casing that we had located over here. There was some other blood evidence on different items down here.
Okay, so you have the blood, the shell casing. Did this tell you, along with the other evidence, where Bart and Krista were killed?
It did, yeah. They were killed down here.
So you had the shell casings, you had the ammo, but you didn't have the murder weapon. Where was that recovered?
The rifle was recovered at the farm in Cottage Grove.
The weapon was found hidden in a barn on the farm's property. No one had any idea it was there.
Chandler really liked first-person shooter video games. And in those games, you can choose what weapon you use. And he liked to try a variety, you know, he wasn't a single gun type person, but he liked the SKS rifle in those video games. He used it a lot.
Now you have a link between the shell casings and the ammo and this gun at the farm.
Yes. The picture that we were seeing at that point is that Chandler had murdered Bart and Krista Halderson in the home and went through extensive work to dispose of their bodies.
What was the reason for it? All in all, they were a loving family, from what we were told by everybody.
Those questions, prosecutors promise, are about to be answered.
The lawyers will now make opening statements.
Got a GPS on the phone. Go ahead and give it.
It's from Snapchat. I don't know if you use that, but that's...
You've been to that spot?
I don't know if it's that specific spot, but we used to swim on the Wisconsin River.
Investigators already have the snap map from Chandler Halderson's girlfriend, placing him at the Wisconsin River. But it's a second tip of a random sighting that piques their interest.
We had sent a detective up to the Wisconsin River area. One of the neighbors happened to come over to that detective and tell him that she had seen a strange or suspect male in that area the week prior. We arranged for a larger team of detectives to go up to the area, and we wanted to do a land search of that property.
They go where Chandler was. It's a dense, vegetative area, wild state land, in between, you know, a road and the river.
You have search teams up there, you have dogs. What's going through your mind?
We were hopeful that we would find something.
Time is of the essence. You have to find Krista.
Yes.
As they're walking around, some of the people searching start to smell something. And then they walk a little bit further and they see something.
What did you find at that location?
In close proximity to each other, there were dismembered body parts.
The Dane County Medical Examiner's Office, working in partnership with the Wisconsin State Crime Lab, has confirmed the DNA obtained from part of the dismembered human remains as matching 53-year-old Krista Halderson.
I was just angered. I was shocked, felt sick to my stomach. I mean, these are honest to goodness friends.
It's just so graphic. I don't really have words for it, to be honest.
I see you thinking about it, and it's kind of, it almost brings about some emotion in you.
For sure. I just don't know how somebody could do that to somebody else, especially if it's their parents, right? We go to homicides all the time. We go to murders all the time. And a lot of that stuff is in the heat of the moment. This is just a whole nother level of emotion.
The location where Krista's remains are found seems familiar to at least one detective. And then it clicks when he sees a unique tree trunk, the same one in that photograph given to police by Chandler's ex, showing Chandler near his favorite swimming spot.
Chandler Halderson is now officially charged in the death of both of his parents.
Chandler Halderson pleads not guilty to all the charges.
Everything seems so evil.
A couple of months later, prosecutors set out to answer those questions as Chandler goes to trial.
Thanks, you can be seated, everybody. Thank you. Good morning.
The city of Madison, Wisconsin rings in the new year with confetti, cocktails, and a double murder trial. Prosecutors set out to prove Chandler killed Bart and Krista Halderson. And a big part of their strategy is to prove their theory as to why.
Juries always want to understand why someone would commit a murder. Why would you kill your parents? And if prosecutors don't explain it, it's kind of a hole in their case.
The lawyers will now make opening statements. Attorney Brown.
Thank you. Chandler Halderson murdered his parents, dismembered their bodies, and hid them around southern Wisconsin. How does this happen? How does this kid, with everything in the world going for him, promising new jobs, school, a girlfriend that loves him, willing to move across the country for him, how does this happen?
The jury hears about Chandler Halderson's IT degree, studies in renewable energy, a dream job at SpaceX, and a new life with his girlfriend in Florida.
He was about to embark on a career that people in the IT field could only dream of.
But they also hear about what prosecutors say was a concoction, a total fabrication of the events leading up to Bart and Krista's disappearance.
He gives this bizarre story of his parents leaving in an unknown car, going to a cabin with an unknown couple, with an unknown amount of money, for really an unknown reason.
Attorney Dorrell.
Thank you. The defense should be demonstrating why they say there's reasonable doubt in this case, why maybe he didn't do it.
Chandler Halderson did not murder his parents. He is not guilty of those crimes. And he lived peacefully in his parents' home. He was just a normal kid.
The defense comes out at the beginning, opening statements, and admits their client is a liar. Chandler Halderson is a liar. But they say that doesn't make him a killer.
When someone is on trial for the most serious crime possible, and every little thing they do, every little lie they might have told, is blown up and thrown against someone. That's when proof beyond a reasonable doubt matters.
And that's actually an excellent strategy because you want to let the jury know from the beginning all of the bad facts about your case.
And as prosecutors begin to call witnesses, there's one who has a haunting story.
My name is Omar Job, O-M-A-R-J-O-B-E.
About a phone call he receives just before the murders. A conversation not only revealing, but stunning.
The trial continues for Chandler Halderson, who's accused of killing and dismembering his parents, Bart and Krista Halderson.
Chandler Halderson is on trial for the murder of both his parents. And from jump, prosecutors promised the jury they'd hear the reason why. And in their opening statements, prosecutors told the jury it all started because that promising future Chandler supposedly had was a mirage. Called to the witness stand, 𝐅𝐔𝐋𝐋, a Madison College enrollment officer, who says his phone rang on June 29th. It's a call, he says, he won't soon forget.
Was that call recorded?
Yes.
Okay, what's your first name? Chandler, Chandler. Last name is Hald, D as in David, ERSON.
It's a normal phone call that we receive every day. This person was trying to request a transcript.
Trying to get an appointment scheduled to meet with somebody to mainly just get a copy of the transcript.
On this call, Job is hearing a complaint from Chandler that for months now, he hasn't received his college transcripts.
Okay, so it looks like you owe a balance. So that's why you can't request it. Hello?
The jury listens as 𝐅𝐔𝐋𝐋 then tries to confirm what classes Chandler is taking.
You were taking IT classes, right? I don't see that you were in a program. Well, prior to the IT, there was a solar program too. Yeah, but I don't see that the IT degree is in there, right? No, those are just classes.
I found that Chandler was taking classes at Madison College for a couple of semesters, and then he stopped.
But here's the thing about that phone call. It's not at all what it appears to be.
At that time, it didn't register in my mind.
On the other line, it is a Halderson, but it's not Chandler. It's actually Bart Halderson pretending to be his son.
Prosecutors play it during trial. The jury got to hear what Bart sounded like as he figured out his son was lying to him.
Bart has been trying unsuccessfully for months to get the transcripts from Chandler, and he was beginning to get suspicious.
According to prosecutors, the phone call was a ruse by Bart to see if his son was actually enrolled in college, and it turns out he wasn't. He failed out.
Prosecutors also allege that Chandler had set up fake email accounts in an attempt to deceive his father about why his transcripts weren't coming.
Chandler was looping Bart in on some of these emails with Madison College, just trying to show Bart that this is why I'm not getting my transcripts.
But the problem is, according to detectives, they're fake too.
He asked me 2 people's names that work in advising because they were trying to set up something with them.
Do you have an Alyssa Brandt that works in that area or anywhere in the campus? You said the first name is Alyssa? Alyssa? Yeah, ALYSSA? No, there's no Alyssa. Does Daniel Spice still work there? No.
Chandler had made up fake emails with fake school employees to email back and forth about the transcript issue.
Can I ask you, what is the end part of every employee's email who works for Madison College?
MadisonCollege.edu.
No one uses a Gmail account as their official Madison College email?
No.
But college wasn't the only alleged deception Chandler carried out. Prosecutors call in witnesses who reveal things like that internship at American Family Insurance.
I found no record of that person working for American Family.
The job at Elon Musk's SpaceX?
Were there ever any emails regarding a job application or employments with SpaceX?
No.
Prosecutors argue that essentially everything he supposedly had going for him, none of it was real.
The defense did not cross-examine these witnesses.
Cross-examination?
No, thank you.
The defense always has to balance between aggressively cross-examining witnesses and alienating the jury.
So the insurance company internship, the SpaceX opportunity, the going to school, all lies.
All lies. Yeah.
So you're hearing this at the trial. What did this make you think of him?
That he's not anybody who I thought he was.
It's an explosive claim in court. Authorities say Chandler has been perpetrating this catfish scheme for at least a year. The call to Madison College would turn out to be fateful, and the last recorded words of Bart Halderson.
Okay, that should do it then. Okay, thank you for your help.
Bart then sends Chandler a text. I spoke with Omar Job.
Bart sets up a meeting for July 1st with a school administrator and plans to bring Chandler along. Around 2 p.m. that day, Bart sends this text to his son. I'm ready whenever you are.
It's the last text message from Bart, and the last day Bart and Krista are seen alive.
When Bart figured it out, Chandler realized he could lose everything. Prosecution, the story they painted was that Chandler gave himself no other option.
Not long after that, Chandler asked his mom to stop at the gas station and pick up soda.
Chandler's text says, Dad's phone died. Text or call me, and get soda on your way home. I have an extra hour of work. Krista replies, Kay, I can, smiley face. That would be the last text from Krista Halderson.
As if the alleged motive wasn't already shocking enough, there was Chandler's whole history of a debilitating head injury, which prosecutors say was also untrue.
Late June, early July 2021, Chandler had just fallen down the stairs. He had this injury that he said could cause lifelong side effects. By all accounts, the fall stopped Chandler's life.
Prosecutors entered this photo into evidence at trial to support their theory that Chandler's fall is part of an alleged web of lies. Prosecution calls the ER doctor to dispel that myth.
I'm an emergency physician at the University of Wisconsin Hospital and Clinics.
What in this case did you diagnose Mr. Halderson with?
I believe he was diagnosed as having a mild concussion. The patient had some residual neck pain, so he was given a collar to go home with for support.
The defense pushes back on the prosecution's claims, cross-examining the ER doctor about Chandler's injury.
You did diagnose Chandler Halderson with a mild concussion, right?
That's correct.
You didn't give him a set number of days to wear the collar, is that right?
I don't believe so, no.
In that picture, on Father's Day of 2021, standing next to Bart, he's got the brace on, because he did go to the ER.
That Father's Day brunch photo, which is shown to the jury by prosecutors, is just weeks before the murder.
But then there's surveillance video of Chandler the night of July 1st at a nearby Quick Trip carrying 2 bags of ice, 10-pound bags of ice.
But prosecutors also point out, conspicuously missing on this Quick Trip surveillance video, Chandler's neck brace. And they claim it's the same story when he visits a local store.
He's at Fleet Farm. Again, no neck brace. Just normal 23-year-old dude walking into Fleet Farm to buy a tarp.
And that tarp, prosecutors say, is part of what Chandler used to dispose of his parents' remains.
The prosecution calls one last star witness, Chandler's ex-girlfriend, Kat Melander, who testifies about the impact of sharing the snap map discovery on her phone.
Why was it important to you to cooperate at that time?
Because I just believed his parents were missing. And I just want them to be found.
And later, she recalls something else she noticed during the initial search for Bart and Krista.
When you first go in the house that day, did you notice anything off?
There was a smoky smell.
That smoky smell, a neighbor's security camera, and a flickering light are about to reveal another dark secret inside the home. It turns out, prosecutors say, Chandler has one more big thing to hide. It's day 7 in Chandler Halderson's trial, as he stands accused of the murder of his own parents in what prosecutors say was a desperate attempt to conceal a secret web of lies. But what the jury hears next is some of the most disturbing evidence yet.
We had a grand total of 230 bones, fragmented bones that were found, again, inside the fireplace, on the grate, and also on the ash disposal area.
So we found video footage from one of the neighbors that actually watched the backside of the house. And through a forensic analysis of that video, our examiner was able to determine that the glow in certain windows of this home was indeed the fireplace.
What was the most disturbing moment of the trial for you?
They showed the fireplace burning all night when he was trying to cremate the skulls of his parents. I almost got sick watching that.
The defense didn't challenge Dr. Figueroa Soto's testimony. After 8 days of testimony, it's the defense's turn. Everyone's wondering what Chandler's case is going to be. But in a surprise move, the defense rests without calling a single witness.
Attorney Dorrell, will other witnesses being called this morning?
No, Your Honor. Watching this trial, it was so one-sided. There were 8 full days of testimony from the prosecution. They had so much evidence. The defense was the opposite.
This time I will invite the state to present its closing argument.
In closing arguments, the prosecution urges the jury to look at this image of Bart and Krista, likening the pieces of evidence to that of a jigsaw.
Solving a case and thinking about whether or not a person is guilty or not guilty is like putting together a puzzle. And it's your job as the jury to put that puzzle together. It's not a whodunit. We know that Bart and Krista went into that home and never came out, at least as whole people.
Attorney Vera, would you please present the defense closing?
Thank you.
While the defense says all the state was able to prove was that Chandler is a liar, not a killer.
Kids lie to their parents all the time. Motive does not mean intent. Do you know if it was an awful accident? Do you know if it was intentional? Do you know if there was someone else involved? You don't. And that's a problem.
Just after 3 p.m., news breaks that the jury has reached a verdict.
Breaking news. In just about a little over 2 hours, the jury has reached a verdict in the Chandler Halderson case.
When we found out that the verdict was in, it had been 2 hours. No one knew what was going on. People were waiting on pins and needles to figure out what that was.
We, the jury, find the defendant Chandler M. Halderson guilty of first-degree intentional homicide.
Chandler Halderson is found guilty on all 8 charges. So what was your reaction to the verdict?
I would like to say it was relief. It really wasn't, because it's still sad, it's still grotesque, everything about it. There was some closure for the family. To me, it was just and fair.
In March of 2022, at sentencing, Chandler breaks his silence for the first time.
Your Honor, I want to take this opportunity to state my intent to appeal my convictions. If there are any lawyers listening and willing to take on my appeal, take a moment to please reach out to me. It's not that I do not have feelings. It's that I was warned to not show them due to the scrutiny of this case. Thank you.
No remorse, no empathy, no love to his parents.
Chandler is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, still leaving his family and friends with far more questions than answers as to why he murdered his mother and father.
The Haldersons and I were friends for about 25, 26 years. And there was never a cross word. They were just good people. If there were more Bart and Kristas in the world, it would be a better world.
If Chandler would have just asked for help, what do you think Barb and Krista would have done?
They would have given everything and anything to help him. They would have been there. That's the kind of people they were.
If you could talk to Krista one more time, if you just had one more moment to say something to her, what would it be?
I would say you were a great mom.
Well,
wonderful mom being remembered by her family right here tonight, and this is a murder that still leaves so many unanswered questions. In April of 2023, 2 of Chandler's convictions for hiding his parents' remains were vacated.
His other convictions and his sentence, though, still stand, while his case remains pending in the Court of Appeals. That's our program for tonight. I'm Deborah Roberts.
And I'm David Muir from all of us here at 2020 and ABC News. Good night.
An all-new 2020 starts right now.
Sheriff's office. I do smell something.
This was a slaughter. Make no mistake about it. And what did you find when you got inside?
All right, I got her feet right here. This is weird, dude. First thing I noticed was the rose petals everywhere.
Something I've never seen before. I definitely thought that whoever killed her brought those flowers in.
Now, the stunning court case making big headlines. It's the last time you talked to your sister. And then she was gone.
She's got a young daughter that's 9.
So you had to tell her that her mother was dead? And her response was, who did it?
I have great fear for my daughter's safety. Why do you think I left the country?
There's been a custody battle.
Where were you when Christina was murdered?
Italy.
But at this point, I'm getting worried about where we are. I really don't know if I want to comment more on if this is what I think it is.
Rarely do you ever have a murder where you get to see the bad guy walk through the front door.
This isn't your typical murder that you see.
When I walked in, there was a smell like a pesticide smell.
The whole thing seems surreal.
Sheriff's office.
I saw like a flower rose tore up.
Absolutely impossible.
It makes utterly no sense.
Many of us just were shocked and amazed about the capacity of someone to cause such destruction.
This was the manifestation of hate.
We've come here to this quiet suburban street in South Carolina to cover one of the strangest crime stories we've ever come across. It's a story of love, betrayal, classical music, murder, a crime scene strewn with rose petals. And it all began at this house on an October morning in 2021 with a 911 call.
Grayson County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
Break Drive. I think I might have a death. Walked in my fiance's house. She wouldn't answer my call. It was a very weird smell, and I can't get her to come around.
The man making the call is 65-year-old Bradley Post, a local retired engineer. His 41-year-old fiance is inside the house.
And he basically said he had found her and he needed help. He needed an ambulance. He needed law enforcement.
I said to her, what should I do?
Is she breathing?
No.
And we're going to start CPR, sir.
Okay, I think she's gone.
You think she's gone?
Yeah, because somebody might have shot in the back. I don't know. I don't
Somebody
know.
has shot her? Okay, all right.
No.
And tell me why you think she's dead.
So she won't respond. She got her eyes open.
Eyes are open? All right.
There's a lot of blood.
And a lot of blood. Okay.
Yeah.
And so they dispatched law enforcement immediately, ambulances. And so he just continued to give as much information as he could to 911.
So it looks like somebody may have broke in and shot her in the head.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay, I understand. Okay.
Over here now.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Get somebody here now.
I've got some people coming, sir. I have everybody coming. I'm sending the paramedics to help now. Step out of the house, and that way wait for the paramedics and the police at the front of the house and leave everything as you found it.
Master Deputy Chris Robinson rushes to the scene. He's the first to arrive.
And then when law enforcement arrived, Bradley Post is standing in the driveway of the house. So he talks to Deputy Chris Robinson with his body camera on.
Hey, man.
So when you pulled up, was he just like standing there waiting for you?
Yes, ma'am. He was just kind of standing to the side over here, just waiting. He was on the phone with someone. How'd you get in the house?
You got to come home right now. Emergency. Come home. Just come home.
We just started talking briefly about what was going on inside. Basic info about when's the last time you saw her and the last time you talked to her.
She went for a job interview. Okay. She left and came back. I called her, texted
Today?
her twice. Yeah, just from like 9 o'clock. I got her on a tracker.
Yep.
She didn't respond, so I went to the door, no response, so the back door is always unlocked.
Okay.
So I walked around the back door. When I walked in, there was a smell, like a pesticide smell.
Yep.
And I walked in, and I didn't see anything on. I saw like a flower rose tore up, and then I walked in the living room, and she's laying there on her back. There is a lot of blood.
Okay. Do you live here?
No.
You stay here occasionally?
I stay, yeah.
Okay.
I'm with her most days.
All right, do me a favor, just stand right here.
You went in the back.
You want to help me clear it real quick?
And what did you find when you got inside?
So I went in with another deputy. We started clearing. Sheriff's office. I do smell something. All right, you see what we got? There is a smell in here. All right, you want to hold right, and I'll clear this on the left. We didn't know who was inside. I barely see, and I could see her feet at that point, so I kind of knew what was going on. All right, I got her feet right here in front of me. Continued clearing, made it up to her, saw that there was no signs of life. We kept moving and cleared the rest of the house. Yes, ma'am, we're clearing the house now.
Just to make sure there's no one in the house.
Correct. Pushing in. Sheriff's office. Take one, I'll take the other. Sheriff's office. I've been doing this 15 years, and it was pretty gruesome.
And what could you see happened?
First thing I noticed was the rose petals everywhere. I thought that was kind of weird. They were just kind of all over the floor. In no particular, not a pattern, it was just kind of everywhere. This is weird, dude. There was also a chemical odor and just a lot of blood. A lot of blood.
Could you tell that it was a stabbing or a shooting or?
I couldn't tell at that point. Our protocol is not to really touch anything. If there's no signs of human life, I don't have to render aid. We try not to contaminate the scene.
Was there anything else about that room that seemed odd to you?
You could tell there was a struggle inside the house at some point. Looked like she was pulled by her ankles or moved somehow. Let's get out of here with that smell.
And then you came back outside?
Came back outside, kind of locked the house down so nobody in or out. Just lock it down. Definitely not a death odor.
Anyway, I gotta go, Tina. Get home as soon as you can. It's the owner of the house, her sister lives here.
Okay.
Is she dead?
As far as I can tell, I'm not EMS, man. So, and this is your girlfriend?
My fiance.
Okay. What's her name?
Christina Lorraine Parcell.
Christina Parcell, a single mother of one who police quickly discover has not been shot, but has been stabbed 35 times.
We learned that she was a vet tech and that she was engaged to be married to Bradley Post. And the other residents of there were her sister, Tina Parcell, and Christina Parcell's daughter.
Son of a... She's got a young daughter that's 9.
Lead investigator Jared Sparkman arrives to the scene shortly after Deputy Robinson. When you pull up to the scene, what do you see?
There's a lot of deputies, investigators already here.
Describe to us this crime scene.
So it was very unique. First of all, you don't have many murders that are stabbings. You also see rose petals scattered around in the room where she's at. Something I've never seen before. I definitely thought that whoever killed her brought those flowers in.
People think of stabbings as really intimate, right? Did this seem like a fight, like this was a crime of passion?
That was something that crossed our mind, especially with the rose petals on the ground.
This was no ordinary murder because the nature of the crime was so close and personal, so brutal, that either somebody was really mad at this particular person or something went terribly wrong. Obviously, the first person that you want to talk to is the person that discovers the body. The fiancé of the person.
He's definitely someone that we want to talk to quickly.
What was he like?
Pompous. Always wanted to be the smartest person in the room or the richest person in the room, preferably both.
This 5-bedroom ranch house was home for veterinary technician Christina Parcell, her 9-year-old daughter, and her sister Tina, who says October 13, 2021 was a typical busy weekday morning.
It was just so exceedingly normal.
Not a day you would have thought anything of.
Never. I remember every bit of it now. She had a job interview that morning. She was trying to find a job with more hours, better pay.
Did you see her that morning as she was getting ready for it?
I'm finishing my morning coffee, sitting on the couch. We talked just normal people things. What have you got going on today other than your interview? I've got a hair appointment. Then I think they had gymnastics that afternoon. Okay, have a great day. You too. Love you.
It's the last time you talked to your sister.
And then she was gone.
So Christina Parcell had a very quick interview at a local veterinarian clinic.
Hey, I'm Christina. Nice to meet you.
We actually have a video of the interview. It did not last very long.
And she texted me, she felt good, it went well. It was, talk me through your qualifications, et cetera, et cetera. Very short.
And then she drove back, and she returned back about 9:07. And we know that because she passes by a Ring camera 3 doors down, and we see her car pass by.
Meanwhile, Tina is at her office, 20 minutes away.
I was at work, and my phone says, you have a voicemail. And it was post telling me there was an emergency at the house, and I needed to come home.
Tina, this is Brad. You need to call me quick. There's a problem with Christina at the house. Please call me now.
So I call him back, and he says, you have to get here. I think she's dead. I'm like, what happened? He's like, I don't know. I can't tell.
So you race home?
Absolutely race home. I get there about 11:30. They wouldn't tell me that she was actually dead for the first hour, maybe hour and a half.
It's a tragic end to a sibling relationship that survived ups and downs, beginning with an incredibly close bond.
She was younger, I was older.
2 years apart?
2 years and 4 days. Our birthdays were 4 days apart, so we would have birthday parties kind of around the same time. We were each other's best friends, basically, growing up. She was smart. She was quick-witted, and she was kind.
Her sister says Christina loved running and gifting friends with her professional-looking homemade chocolates. And she had ambitions for a new career.
She had gone back to school for nursing. She seemed exceptionally devoted to her daughter.
Christina Parcell shared custody with her ex-boyfriend, John Mello. 5 months before her death, she and her daughter had moved into Tina's home in Greer, a suburb 12 miles from the city of Greenville. Greenville, South Carolina is a city nestled in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's one of the fastest growing cities in the U.S. It's known for its southern charm, its tree-lined streets, and its vibrant art and music scene.
We're a medium-sized city. We have more cultural and artistic offerings than someone might expect to see in a city of this size. In theater, in dance, in the visual arts, in music. Classical music is very popular here in Greenville. As you walk down Main Street, you'll see street musicians.
Good things they come to those who wait. And you hear some of the best music you would hear anywhere in the world. It is a wonderful place to come and raise children. It's a very safe place.
The neighborhood where the murder occurred is usually considered a very safe neighborhood. It's a upper scale, low crime area.
And luckily we're able to solve the vast majority of our homicides. We have one of the highest clearance rates in the country.
But clearing the county's latest homicide could pose a challenge. Back at the house, police are scrubbing the crime scene for more details.
So one of the first things we do when we get there is secure the crime scene. Once it's secured, we call our forensics unit to come. With Christina, we collected her fingernails, we swabbed her hands, anywhere that DNA could have been left. Once her body is removed from the scene, we can really start searching that house for any clues and really kind of figure out what happened.
This was a slaughter. Make no mistake about it. 19 slices to the neck and face. That's personal.
Do you think she fought?
I hope like hell she fought.
Adding to the mystery, those scattered rose petals. Were there roses in the house before? Any idea where that came from?
No, I mean, it had to have been brought by the person that was in my home.
Leading to the question, who was that person in the home? Police first want to talk to Parcells' fiance, Bradley Post.
And I saw her sunglasses in the hallway, so it looks like she was surprised somehow.
Post is a retired engineer and business owner. He and Christina Parcells had been dating for 6 years.
He'd owned several businesses and sold them, retired. He's very wealthy. He drives fancy sports cars, lives in a big house.
What was he like?
Pompous. Always wanted to be the smartest person in the room or the richest person in the room, preferably both.
You didn't like him?
No. He's very particular. He likes things the way he likes them.
Did she seem happy?
Sometimes. She was becoming less and less happy with Post and less enamored with the thought of marrying him.
2 days after the murder, once the crime scene was released, Tina and Bradley Post do a walkthrough with police. What'd you think of him and his demeanor that day?
He was calm, you know, he wanted to be helpful.
Anything unusual?
I remember him putting on gloves. He had on gloves when he showed up. He just said he's just trying to be careful.
Seems strange to you?
You don't see that much.
Did you find that to be weird?
No, because he was a fastidious, persnickety man. Didn't surprise me at all that he didn't want to touch anything icky.
While Tina may have found Post off-putting, it's another man she thinks police need to investigate.
I can only think of one person in the world that I would instantly think of would have interest in seeing my sister murdered.
I'm telling you, person of interest will be John Mello.
John Mello. In the aftermath of Christina Parcells' murder, it's her sister, Tina, who's left to tell her 9-year-old niece the tragic news.
So you had to tell her that her mother was dead?
Mm-hmm. She wailed. And she was inconsolable sobbing. I told her there had been an accident. Mommy had been hurt very, very badly, and she died. She didn't make it. And her response was, who did it?
When police talked to Christina's fiance, Bradley Post, after the murder,
tell me about this other dude.
He immediately brings up somebody he thinks should be a person of interest. So you asked him, do you know who would do this?
Right, yeah. So I was like, do you know anybody that would be like our suspect in this or anything like that?
I'm telling you, person of interest will be John Mello.
And then he did mention John Mello's name at that point.
There's been a custody battle.
And what did he say about John Mello?
It was her ex, and they were having some issues.
With that, we started looking into John Mello.
John Mello says he's a music producer. He met Christina in 2004. He was a 43-year-old married father of 2. She was 24.
I'm not gonna guess now.
Yeah. Speed. Both cameras have it?
Yep.
Okay.
All good? So I guess let's start at the beginning. How did you come to meet Christina?
I met her at a cigar shop. We just became friends. She was, very intelligent, very, very beautiful, very fun, to be around. We just hit it off as people, in general.
Were you trying to have a relationship?
No, I was married. No, I just like talking to people. And throughout my life, most of my closest friends have been females. So it's just, I just, easier to look at. But no, not at all. It just kind of evolved later.
At what point did it become a romantic relationship?
I'd say 2009. You know, my marriage was not good, so it just happens.
Mello and Christina dated for the next 6 years. So you had a discussion, decided you were going to try to have a baby?
Yes, yeah, planned it. No,
That's a little surprising to me because you were
married. It is to most people. Yeah, no, we planned her. She was born phenomenal, and things were pretty good at the beginning, you know, with all that.
But while things were going well with the new baby, by then, Christina had become estranged from her sister and the rest of her family.
Between April and May of 2010, my sister cut off ties with our whole immediate family. She sent a letter to my parents, addressed it to all of us. Dear Mama, Daddy, and Tina, I am severing the ties of discontent and unhappiness that have haunted my life. Leave me to my peace and my newfound life. Please do not visit my home, do not call or email, and most importantly, please do not worry. She had been with John for a year when she sent this. She was being increasingly cut off from the world around her.
So when you started to talk to her again, how did she explain that letter?
It's what John wanted.
The estrangement would last over 4 years.
When she came back to our family, I mean, we found out she had a daughter. My niece was more than 2 when I met her the first time.
By the time the child was 3 years old, relations between Mello and Christina were breaking down. So at some point you guys end up in kind of a tough custody battle.
Yeah. Yes. She became very combative and very untrustworthy.
Child custody cases are always intense. I would say that this one is probably up there, really, like a 10 out of 10. This one is probably as intense as they ever get.
In 2016, Mello is granted sole custody. Christina, just visitation. In court documents, Mello describes what he calls her erratic behavior and lack of consistent visitation, while Christina says she's afraid of Mello and doesn't earn enough money to support her daughter.
She basically relinquished primary custody to John Mello.
In the years that follow, Mello repeatedly contacts law enforcement and the Department of Social Services about Christina, accusing her of prostitution, drug use, and even child sex abuse.
2018-ish, my daughter had come to me complaining about her mom and Brad Post. She said they made me sleep in the same bed with them and all these things. I was just like, this is not right. So I went to the Greenville County Sheriff's Department and I filed a complaint.
The investigators that handled those cases found no evidence to substantiate his claims. Law enforcement, DSS, couldn't verify any of the information.
In the course of their custody battle, Mello is arrested and charged with stalking, and then harassment, accused of repeatedly making unfounded accusations against Christina. Both charges are ultimately dismissed.
John Mello, I can tell you that a lot of people at the sheriff's office knew who he was, and he was just difficult to deal with. He would always make crazy allegations, and then when you wouldn't take him serious, he would get angry.
It's 2018 when attorney Maggie Bailey gets a visit from Christina.
She came into my office to ask about possibly representing her to help her get expanded visitation with her child. She wanted to have more overnights with the child and to be able to be a regular mother. We were successful and she obtained more visitation.
She would do her visit weekends in my apartment. I got specifically a 3-bedroom apartment so she and my niece could stay with me and we could spend time together, go to the pool, go to the playground.
She would tell me how much she enjoyed once her time got expanded, how wonderful it was to be able to have her child overnight and spend time with her.
But then, in October 2020, the custody fight takes another explosive, and for Christina, terrifying turn.
It was time for her visit weekend, and John said, "We won't be back in time. I'll call you when I know more."
His message reads, "We are out of the country, phone not working. Be advised, we won't be able to fly back for Friday exchange. Sorry, more later."
She'd gone by John Mello's house, she'd tried to text him, she'd tried to email him, she'd tried to call him.
My sister reached out to the elementary school and found out John had withdrawn her from Greenville County School System.
She messages Mello, "Please tell me anything you can about where our daughter is. I'm scared."
She had no idea where John Mello and her daughter had gone. She was in tears because she was like, he's taken her, I don't know where he's gone, and I may never see my daughter again.
For Tina Parcell and John Mello, there's not much room for agreement, except on one thing: the strangeness of those red roses found at the crime scene.
It's just a hell of a lot of effort to create something so theatrical and intentional and rage-filled to send a message.
Tina even keeps an eye out for a special delivery at her sister's funeral.
I had the funeral home hold every flower delivery so I could inspect them to make sure no red roses were sent, because I fully expected some to be sent.
Why?
Because that would be a mean and cruel thing to do. And let's just be honest, mean and cruel kind of fits the whole bill for the situation.
For her, the roses add to her suspicion of John Mello. She tells investigators what happened a year earlier. In 2020, the custody battle between Christina Parcell and John Mello had become an outright war after he took off with their 8-year-old daughter. Christina has no idea where she is and frantically searches social media for clues.
She just poured over the internet looking for everything, doing all kinds of searches.
And then Mello emails Christina, "Please do not bother people about us," saying their daughter is doing great. She is happy and healthy. It's just a new setup, that's all. New rules.
Christina had no idea where her daughter or John was. She didn't know if they were in the United States or overseas.
The first clue that she got was a picture that he had posted, and it was in kind of like a courtyard. It's surrounded by buildings, and you could tell that on the building that it was in Italy. You know, she had to blow that picture up in order to try to figure out what the sign said.
John Mello took her child to Italy without any communication to Christina about their intentions. He and Christina's daughter moved to Italy permanently.
She was inconsolable. She couldn't sleep, she couldn't eat. She called county police, she called the FBI, she called the State Department.
Mello claims he took their daughter to Italy to protect her from her mother.
I have great fear for my daughter's safety, and I always have. So why do you think I left the country?
That's why you took her and you went to Italy, because you were scared for her?
Yes. I have watched her entire life, her mother be a horrific human being, provided evidence to everybody. And some people believe it, some people don't.
So when you went to Italy with your daughter, did you think that you were breaking any laws?
Absolutely not. I made certain that my custody order was written in such a way that there were no restrictions, that I do not have to have permission to leave, that the mother just has absolutely no custody.
While Christina Parcell did not have full custody, she had visitation rights. She decided to attempt to get her child back through the Hague Convention.
So the Hague Convention governs international child custody disputes.
You went to Italy with your sister to get your niece.
She found out they scheduled a hearing at essentially the equivalent of family court in Italy. And I asked her, "Do you want me to go with you?" And she said yes. So I instantly bought us 2 round-trip tickets.
This is video from their hotel room from the day before the hearing. Christina is on the bed.
She went to Italy twice. It was the second time that the authorities in Italy handed her daughter to her and told her to take her back to the United States.
The court rules that Mello violated Christina's custody rights, even if limited, and acted against their daughter's interest. It's a victory for Christina, 6 months after Mello took their daughter out of the country.
The family court in Venice, I'm not trying to sound the way it's going to sound, but they were all women. And her mom came and put on a very good show with the tears and the whole thing. And then they decided to let her go that night.
John Mello stays in Italy while Christina heads back to South Carolina with their daughter.
So when Christina came back from Italy with her daughter, she brought her into the office and she was just like all smiles.
This is literally the day after she got back. I took her to the playground.
But just 3 months after the joy of being reunited, Christina Parcell is blindsided again.
I walked into my office one morning and my paralegal was opening the mail and she goes, "Look at this picture," and it was a nude picture of Christina. It was really, I would call it a pornographic picture.
It's not just her attorney who has received the mailing.
The photos were sent to our house, Post's house, all of our neighbors, all of his neighbors, Christina's work, the guardian ad litem.
And Christina Parcell knew that the only person who had possession of these photos of her was John Mello. And they were taken when they were dating back in 2010 or 2011, when she was much younger. And there was also included in there a photocopy of an escort site. And it was claiming that Christina Parcell had been posting on an escort site as a prostitute looking for business.
None of the photos were connected to the escort site. They basically took a screenshot of an escort site and then copied and pasted the URL onto some private pictures that Christina and John had shared years ago.
These packages all came from Greenville or Tennessee. And so we knew the person who sent them out or who put them in the mailbox and prepared them had to be living in the Greenville area. John Mello was in Italy.
She said, "It has to be John." She said, "I just don't know who he would have gotten to send it."
John Mello says he didn't arrange for the mailings to be sent out.
Did you have those images mailed?
No, I did not. No, I had them from years back. And of course, my intention was when I get to the States in this custody case, judge needs to see her background. If you're in a custody case and you have photographic and internet evidence that the person in the custody case with you is prostituting online, you want the judge to see that. Yeah, I would absolutely was going to use that.
There was no evidence that suggested that Christina was a prostitute or drug dealer or escort.
2.5 months after the mailings were sent, Christina Parcell is murdered. But it turns out the man so many people seem to suspect could not have been the killer.
Where were you when Christina was murdered?
Italy. Yeah, I was in Italy.
Did you have anything to do with it?
No, of course not. No, it's not my style. You know what I mean? No.
We still were looking at Mr. Mello and people that he knew, but we did know that he's not the person that walked in the front door and killed Christina.
And then, a huge turning point in the case, thanks to a neighbor's Ring camera.
Rarely do you ever get to see the bad guy walk through the front door before he engages in a horrific murder.
And a shocking arrest, but it's not what you think.
We were dumbfounded.
Police are investigating Christina Parcell's murder. Her fiance, Bradley Post, tells them he's convinced John Mello, despite being in Italy, should be the prime suspect.
There's been a heavy custody battle. This guy's been he's a threatener, he's the thug.
Although authorities have their suspicions about Bradley Post himself, their investigation seems to be pointing away from him.
Bradley Post was extremely cooperative.
And when was the last time you just spoke with her?
Hold on, I'll tell you exactly.
He said that he spoke with Christina that morning.
Last time I talked to her was 8:15 a.m. Outgoing call, 10 minutes. She was on her way to a job interview.
That they texted, and then he attempted to call her with no answer, which is the reason that he came to the house. And by looking at his phone, as well as Christina's phone, we were able to confirm that he was in fact telling the truth.
Because normally when she leaves somewhere, she'll send me a text or something on my way back. Right. And I didn't hear from her.
In addition, the way that he was dressed and the way he appeared in pristine condition freshly showered, in a sports coat, a white shirt, slacks. Not somebody that had just committed a horrific murder.
Even though he expresses some nervousness, Post continues to work with police.
But at this point, I'm getting worried about where we are. I really don't know if I want to comment more. I want to help you, but if this is what I think it is, that's fine.
But then investigators stumble upon what they claim is evidence of an entirely different crime.
Okay.
Bradley Post agreed to allow us to look at his phone. He signed a consent form, a waiver. He gave us his password. We weren't expecting to find anything, but while reviewing his phone, we found some material that resulted in him being arrested for criminal sexual conduct with a minor.
An upstate man facing several charges of sexual exploitation with a minor will remain behind bars.
Investigators say they found sexually explicit images of children in Post's possession.
According to court documents, Post had a high volume of child pornography on his phone and electronic devices. He has not yet entered a formal plea to those charges.
I was personally dumbfounded. I couldn't believe that he just handed over that evidence. For these alleged crimes, he could spend the rest of his life in prison.
So although Bradley Post is now facing some serious charges, police still don't think he's the person who killed Christina Parcell. And they now have a critical clue in the hunt for who did. As you start to go looking for evidence, what's the first thing that you do outside of the home?
Cameras.
Cameras.
Look for cameras, yeah.
So where were the first cameras that you found?
Well, the first camera was actually right here behind you. There's a Ring doorbell camera.
The camera is from the house directly across the street from where Christina Parcell lived. And so you get that camera. What do you see on that camera?
So that camera, it shows a person walking up the steps and going into the house.
We were extremely lucky. The Ring camera across the street was highly sensitive to cars driving by, and a white Ford Explorer drove by at the exact moment that the individual was walking up the stairs and through the front door of the house at exactly 9:15.
So if that vehicle hadn't driven by at that moment, you wouldn't have seen who walked in the house?
That's right.
We were able to enhance the video. You can actually see the gray sweatshirt, the black pants, the build of the individual, an individual walking up through the front door, getting ready to commit a horrific murder.
We continued canvassing the whole neighborhood and came across some cameras that showed someone wearing the same type clothing, same stature, leaving the area.
The next evidence we have of this individual is a Ring camera down the street, and it shows an individual on a black bike dressed in a black sweatshirt, black pants, with a N95 mask over their face, leaving on the bike at exactly 9:27.
We believe that the suspect was in that house for about 12 minutes.
Then at 9:28, we see the same individual passing a house in the exact same clothes on a black bike.
They were wearing dark clothes. It was a nice day that day. Long sleeves, pants. It's just odd. And it was our first real clue.
The Ring camera offers another important development. While investigators don't know who the mysterious man is, they are now confident of who it isn't.
After we found the cameras in the neighborhood, Bradley Post was ruled out. The build wasn't the same. It was pretty obvious that Bradley Post's stature does not match the stature of the person that went into that house.
We were able to determine that Bradley Post could not have committed this crime.
The next order of business, finding the man on the bike.
So finding the person on the bicycle was a tall order.
Turns out the man on the bike will not remain a mystery for long. At the point you heard there was a suspect, were you surprised? Police zero in on somebody you'd never expect. Will this finally explain the crime and those odd rose petals?
We had no suspects, and then with a click of a button, it's like, well, we just figured out who did it. Felt like I just won the lottery.
The rose petal case was just a wild ride. So many twists and turns.
The manifestation of hate wrought upon a physical body.
We still felt with the child custody dispute, there's motive.
Where Zach Hughes began inserting himself into this custody battle.
You don't think Zach is a killer?
There's just no way. The guy's heart is as big as the moon.
We started receiving calls that we had arrested the wrong person.
It makes utterly no sense.
And there is proof to that the state is hiding from you.
Instruct him to be quiet.
If there's no malice, there's no murder.
How is that not murder?
It was as close to a Matlock moment as you're gonna get.
Either you had some part of this, or you were caught in the craziest murder case that any of us have ever heard of.
Graceville County 911 was your emergency.
I just walked in, my fiancée. It looks like she's bled out on the floor.
Is she breathing?
No. I think she's gone. There's a lot of blood. The flowers here, it looks like somebody must have come here.
After Christina Parcell is stabbed to death in the house she shares with her 9-year-old daughter and her sister Tina, investigators piece together camera footage from around their neighborhood that provides critical details about the person who did it.
The ring camera across the street that caught the suspect going into the house was huge.
Our immediate suspects were Bradley Post, because he was Christina's fiance and found her deceased, and John Mello, because they had a previous relationship and had a child together. From the ring and security camera footage in the neighborhood, we learned that our suspect appeared to be male, tall and slender with very good posture, and arrived on a bike.
It was pretty obvious that Bradley Post's stature does not match the stature of the person that went into that house. And John Mello was in Italy at the time, so we know he's not the person that walked into the door.
With Bradley Post and John Mello ruled out as the killer, investigators are working overtime to figure out who the man on the bike is.
We had been working, I don't even know how many hours a day. We had no suspects. Everywhere we were turning, we were just running into dead ends.
Given John Mello's solid alibi, investigators decide to dig a little deeper into his circle of friends and acquaintances.
We still felt like we need to talk to people that know him.
Why?
He's not the one that killed her, but from the information we had with the child custody dispute, we just felt like there's motive there.
We learned that an individual named Michael Manigault worked for John Mello and would clean his house.
So we found Mr. Manigault and we spoke with him.
Like Bradley Post, Michael Manigault does not match the ring camera footage of the man recorded entering the Parcell house.
When we were able to blow up the footage, we were able to tell the person we were looking for was white. Mr. Manigault is African-American.
But when investigators ask Manigault what he knows about Christina's death, he gives them a new name.
Tell me again how you heard about Christina.
A mutual friend of me and John, Zach Hughes, he said about a week and a half ago that Christina had been stabbed to death.
He goes on to tell us that Zach Hughes cleans John Mello's house with him.
Is this him?
Is this that? Yes, that's it.
At that point, we start looking into Zach Hughes, find out who he is.
Master Deputy Wolf, he did just a basic internet search. There's YouTube video of Zachary Hughes.
The videos are from a virtual concert series Hughes did with a local museum and posted on his YouTube channel.
Zach is a pretty extraordinary musician.
I noticed that he's a pianist, and there's a lot of articles about him and his accomplishments. I was very surprised. He had no criminal record. I couldn't even find a speeding ticket.
How does Zachary get around? You said an old truck or something?
Yeah, old truck. He drives. He picks me up once in a while.
Once I have his name, I can pull up every vehicle you have with your license plate within 10 minutes.
We're able to learn that he in fact owned a gold Ford truck.
Investigators discover a crucial clue not far from downtown Greenville. If you look up there, you'll see a camera. That's called a flock camera. It's an automated license plate reader that alerts law enforcement if a wanted vehicle is detected.
A little after 2 p.m. on the day of Christina's murder, there's a picture of his vehicle coming into the downtown area with a black bike in the bed of his truck.
And that bike matched the exact description of the bike that we had on the ring cameras of the individual leaving the Canebrake neighborhood.
The handlebars were the same, the brakes were in the exact same place, the frame was the same. Felt like I just won the lottery.
With all that information, we really honed in on Zachary Hughes as our main suspect.
We get a search warrant for Zach Hughes' residence where he's staying. When we all get there, it's almost like Zach was waiting on us. He comes out calm, puts his hands up, and he backs up towards my direction. I put handcuffs on him.
Anybody else in the house?
Yes, sir.
He never asked why we were there or what we were doing.
I set him in the back of Investigator Wolf's car, and he stayed there while we executed the search warrant.
We obviously want his cell phone. We're looking for the bicycle. We knew Christina Parcell had been stabbed, so we're looking for any objects that could have done that. They have a detached garage at this property, and then we were able to find the exact bike that is on the flock picture in the bed of his truck.
The bike had been washed or cleaned before we were able to locate it. It was in absolute pristine condition.
Investigators don't have enough yet to make an arrest, so they let Zach Hughes go, but not before obtaining a sample of his DNA.
Her fingernails were broken, which made us think she fought back. So we believed that DNA could possibly be under her fingernails of her killer.
While they wait for the DNA results, authorities are trying to determine just how close Zach Hughes and John Mello really are.
How did you come to know Zach?
I was walking with my daughter down Main Street, and we were just a couple of weeks away from moving full-time to Italy, and he was playing piano on the street. And so he finished, and he said hello to her, and she said hello, and she says, "Do you know Claire de Lune?" And he played Claire de Lune, and it was fantastic. And then days later, he was in a different location by Falls Park playing, and we chatted quite a while and exchanged contact information, and that was it. And then we left, not long after that.
Mello says that once he takes his daughter to Italy, he loses touch with Hughes for a few months. But after Christina Parcell wins her case to bring their daughter back to the United States, he says the two men reconnect.
I was unbelievably sad and distraught, and I reached out to him and I told him what was going on, because he was just like, "Oh my God, not your little girl."
You don't think Zach is a killer?
There's just no way. The guy's heart is as big as the moon, and what would his motive be?
Even while investigators are zeroing in on Hughes, prosecutor Walt Wilkins has the same question.
Why would Zach Hughes go kill somebody for John Mello? And if you do that for your friend, you must either be a really good friend or a really scary person.
Do you think I could talk him into doing something like that for free? Throwing his life down the toilet? At his age?
I don't know what to say about Zach. I love him. He's one of my best friends. Because I think he has the ability to become one of the greatest pianists of our century.
Zach Hughes. You know, a lot of people don't know who he is and kind of what his background is. How did he end up in Greenville?
He was born in California. When he was roughly 10, 11 years old, his family moved to Virginia on a small farm. They lived in Virginia until he was a teenager. Then they moved to the upstate of South Carolina. His parents could see an aptitude for music, so his dad bought him a piano at a yard sale for $300. And that's where he started. And over the course of his childhood, he just developed a passion for it, became very good at it.
Like when you say good at it, like
prodigy good?
He consistently did things that were very extraordinary. He begins to compete in very prestigious music festivals. He decided to apply for Juilliard and was accepted in 2010.
Juilliard is one of our most prestigious conservatories for musicians. To be received into the program suggests that a young artist is at the top of his or her game.
I met Zach in 2011 at Juilliard, and very quickly we decided to build some projects and he started playing my music. I always felt Zach treating everyone with this equal, profound kindness. He was devoted to his friend, devoted to his parents, devoted to everyone he was meeting, basically. In 2013, Zach came to Paris especially to premiere my first sonata, which was called Sonata Mystique at the Oratoire du Louvre, which is a rather famous place in Paris. And it was a huge success.
As seen here in a video posted on YouTube, Zach Hughes graduates from Juilliard in 2015. He spends a season with the Knoxville Symphony Orchestra before eventually settling in Greenville, South Carolina, amid its thriving local arts and music scene.
We've always punched above our weight, artistically, you might say, here in Greenville. In 2020, someone had contacted me to tell me about this young pianist who was going to attempt a really ambitious project, playing all 32 of Beethoven's piano sonatas in the space of a year. He called his project the Beethoven Odyssey.
Zach Hughes posted videos of the Beethoven Odyssey on his YouTube channel.
He was playing them by heart, and that was very, very impressive.
Together, they span 600 pages and more than 11 hours of music. I thought, based on his YouTube videos, as well as seeing him perform live and in person, that here was a young man with a very bright future ahead of him as a musician.
During the COVID pandemic, Zachary Hughes could often be found here in downtown Greenville with his keyboard, sharing his Juilliard training and his love of Beethoven with the community.
He started off doing some concerts live, but then when COVID hit, he was doing some busking in downtown Greenville. And one day, a man walked up to him and asked if he would take a request.
That man, of course, is John Mello, and this chance encounter is the start of their friendship.
It was a pretty strong friendship from what I understood.
It was in May of 2021. Zach actually goes to Italy to visit John Mello. What's that trip about?
Mello said, why don't you recharge your batteries and just come over and visit.
I go, come to Italy. I go, I got a recording. I could use you. So he came, and we rehearsed a lot and spent a lot of time together. He's just a really very well-educated, very articulate, very fun, kind person. And we just really hit it off.
Cemented by the time in Italy, their connection continues when Zach Hughes returns home to South Carolina.
Zach began doing yard work, just odds and ends around the house to help him out.
Had he ever met Christina?
Not once. How would he ever have an occasion to meet her?
But investigators are starting to believe that Zach Hughes did, in fact, meet Christina Parcell on at least one occasion. And they say they've now got the evidence to prove it.
The DNA results came back as Zach Hughes' DNA was under the fingernails of Christina Parcell. And so as a result, we were able to get a warrant for his arrest. And he makes the decision to turn himself in.
Typically, the people that we deal with for murders, they don't wear suits, they're not pianists. For us, this is just all very unusual.
He just sat there. He wasn't rude, but he just had no emotion.
And then after that, we took him to our detention center and booked him.
This man locked up tonight, charged with murder.
We We started receiving calls that we had arrested the wrong person.
And at a bond hearing for 𝐅𝐔𝐋𝐋, the courtroom is packed with supporters insisting that he's not capable of murder.
As a mother, I know him, and I have no doubt that 𝐷 had any part of this.
We were convinced that we had the correct person and that he just made everybody believe he was something that he wasn't.
Ultimately, the judge denies Hughes' bond, and now it's up to the state of South Carolina to prove to a jury that this 29-year-old piano virtuoso is also a cold-blooded killer.
John Mello had a problem. He had a custody problem, and 𝐷𝐔𝐋 solved the problem for him.
And prosecutors now think they have evidence implicating Mello in the murder.
There was a text exchange between you and Zach where you asked him, how's the music research going?
Right, yeah. On the day of the murder.
On the day of the murder.
It was two musicians discussing the music project.
So were the men discussing music or murder? Three years after Christina Parcells' murder, Zachary Hughes' trial begins. Family and friends pile in here to the Greenville County Courthouse to see if this accomplished musician might also be a killer.
We will now begin the trial. State.
The state intends to prove that Zachary Hughes did in fact murder Christina Parcells. Typically in opening statements, you want to lay out a little bit of a roadmap for the jury. Christina Parcells had been going through a very tremendous child custody dispute with John Mello. Zach Hughes began inserting himself into this custody battle at the behest of John Mello. And the evidence will show that Zach Hughes is a cold-blooded killer. Your Honor, the state calls Bradley Post.
One of the first witnesses to take the stand, clad in an orange jail jumpsuit, is Christina Parcells' fiance, Bradley Post. Prosecutors want to ask him about that morning. He found her dead.
Good afternoon, Mr. Post. Where do you currently reside?
Greenville County Detention Center.
Prior to the start of the trial, the judge ruled that jurors would not be allowed to hear that investigators had allegedly found a high volume of child pornography on Post's electronic devices, or that he was facing charges of sexual exploitation of a minor.
Child pornography is extremely prejudicial. I mean, nobody in America thinks that that's okay, but the purposes of us being there was to determine whether Zach Hughes murdered Christina Parcells. When you arrived, what did you do?
I went to the front door and rang the doorbell. She didn't answer. I walked in through the back door. I saw her on her back.
When you saw her on her back, was there a lot of blood around the room?
Yes.
The medical examiner testifies to just how violent the attack appeared to be.
What jumped out at you in your findings?
There were 35 sharp force injuries to Ms. Parcells. And then based on the appearances of the wounds, it is most consistent with the knife being used.
The chipped thumb fingernail, something that really stood out to me on scene.
Why does that stand out to you?
Broken fingernails can be a sign that the person tried to defend themselves.
Next, a court-appointed attorney for the child in the custody dispute takes the stand to address the conflict that prosecutors say is at the heart of this case.
What findings did you make as to the lengths that Mr. Mello would go to get custody?
He was very clear that there was nothing off limits. This was the worst case I've ever worked on as far as representing a child's interest.
At the time of the murder, remember, John Mello was still in Italy, and that, prosecutors say, is why Mello needed Zach Hughes.
When John Mello left for Italy, they began using WhatsApp to communicate with each other. After Christina Parcells was able to retrieve her child from Italy and returned back to the United States, and their communications increased by 10,000%.
When we downloaded Mr. Hughes' phone, we obtained over 1,700 WhatsApp messages between Mr. Hughes and John Mello.
But because Zach Hughes had deleted those encrypted WhatsApp messages before authorities got his phone, when they were able to retrieve them, they came back scrambled.
The longer ones, obviously, we couldn't make sense out of, but some of the shorter ones, you can determine what they said.
City States 184, you recognize that?
Yes, sir. This is a message from John Mello. It says, harass of her 5142. We can the out. I believe he's providing Christina's phone number, which ends in 5142. He's saying harass the out of her.
When I spoke to John Mello prior to Zach Hughes' trial, he told me about sending this message.
They had the text of me saying, you know, to Zach, oh, I got a private phone or something, or, you know, use it, harass whatever kind of thing. But his response was, no, I'm not going to get in trouble for you.
But prosecutors argue at trial, this is when John Mello convinced Zach Hughes to help him in that alleged campaign of harassment against Christina, sending those explicit photos from a supposed escort website.
We were reviewing the Gmails of John Mello and Zachary Hughes. And inside there was an email that came from Mullen Investigations, which we believe to be John Mello, because we couldn't ever find Mullen Investigations, and included 2 of the photos of Christina Parcell in a state of undress that were found in those envelopes.
The most significant communication between the 2 men, prosecutors say, was their last WhatsApp message sent just hours after Christina Parcell was killed.
October 13th, 2021, that did research on music, how go. At 2:53 p.m., the message reads, phone over, tell you good, the owl. The question John Mello asked about how the music research was going, to me, I thought they were speaking in code for killing Christina.
There was a text exchange between you and Zach where you asked him, how's the music research going?
Right, yeah. On the day of the murder.
And some people think that could be code for how did the murder go?
Okay, yeah, I know. I know that's what they're thinking. It was 2 musicians discussing the music project he was working on. It's simple as that. That's what it is.
The prosecutors have one more damning piece of evidence against Hughes to put before the jury.
The cherry on top was the DNA evidence. Zach Hughes had no business being in Christina Parcell's house that day. They had no prior relationship, and his DNA under her fingernails slammed the door on this case.
With the state's case laid out, it's now the defense's turn. And in a twist, they announce Zach Hughes will be taking the stand.
Please state your name for the record.
Zachary David Hughes.
And what he tells the jury catches prosecutors and just about everyone else in the courtroom off guard.
There is proof to that the state is hiding from you.
Your Honor, instruct him to be quiet.
Why did you feel like it was important for you to be there?
Part of me feels like by being there every day, every minute of this trial, maybe she got to be there too. Courtroom 8 got fuller and fuller as days went on.
So we're standing outside the courtroom right now. It has been quite a sight, to say the least.
State rest, Your Honor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now it's our turn.
We are honored and privileged to be representing Zach.
Zach Hughes' defense team opens with a bombshell, announcing not only will Hughes take the stand, but he's prepared to confess to killing Christina Parcell.
Zach has been waiting for this opportunity. He's been waiting and wanting to tell you why. You're going to hear that this was done for a just cause.
We didn't know exactly what he was going to say and how he was going to do it and for what purpose.
Please state your name for the record.
Zachary David Hughes.
Hughes first describes how he met John Mello and learned the details of the contentious custody battle that Mello was in with Christina. He says Mello told him that he was worried for his daughter's safety, and in an attempt to help, Hughes admits he was the one who mailed those envelopes with the explicit pictures of Christina.
You sent multiple mailers beginning in June and going into July of 2021, is that correct?
Yes, I did. I wanted different people, such as the guardian ad litem, to have access to this information that clearly demonstrated that Christina Parcell was a danger to children and her own daughter.
I'm curious why the concern for this child, a child that he doesn't really know that well.
Well, he got to know the child somewhat. I think Zach is just naturally a caring person, just in general. Another point was Christina Parcell's fiance was a man named Brad Post. And Zach was convinced that Christina Parcell was going to allow him to harm her.
At the beginning of October 2021, did you conclude that you had to rescue and there was no other way?
Yes, I did. I had been wrestling with this since June, feeling that I needed to do something to save her, and yet feeling this incredible reluctance to do the one thing that I knew would save her because of how terrible I knew it would be to do it.
It's extremely rare for a defendant to get up there and admit to killing somebody in cold blood, almost as if he was doing something for the sake of humanity.
I had prayed like I'd never prayed before.
He testified it was something he just felt like he had to do to protect that child, but every fiber of his being was fighting him. When you arrived at the house, what did you do?
I laid my bike down in the driveway. I took a bunch of roses, and I walked up to the door and I rang the doorbell.
According to Hughes, those roses found at the scene that caused so much speculation were nothing more than a ruse. And along with the flowers, he also had a gun.
A woman came to the front, so I told her that I had a delivery for Lutina Parcell, her sister. And she told me that Lutina wasn't home. So I handed her the roses, and I took the revolver out and I pointed it at her, and I told her to be quiet and to go back into the house. She began to try to fight back, and during this period of time, the roses had dropped and the petals and stems had scattered. So I pulled out the knife I was wearing, and it just kept striking her until finally we fell on the floor, and I stopped striking her when she stopped struggling.
Zach Hughes says that he knew he didn't have time to clean up all of the now scattered rose petals.
And I looked in a mirror before I left, and I saw that she had scratched my face in the struggle. And of course I realized that this could leave DNA. So I used the paint thinner to try to clean her hands.
I do smell something.
The paint thinner Hughes brought with him explains that odd smell the responding officer noticed.
That's true.
But even after his detailed testimony, Zach Hughes' defense attorneys insist that he is not guilty of murder.
Murder is defined in South Carolina as the killing of another with malice aforethought. Malice is defined as having a dark heart, a wicked and depraved heart. Zach did this without malice. If there's no malice, there's no murder.
He planned this. He had a gun and a knife. He basically lied to get into the home, and then he stabbed this woman. How is that not murder?
It's very important to understand the motive. The entire motive behind what he did was to save this child, period.
And the defense had argued that there were serious abuse allegations against Christina Parcell herself, and that jurors should hear them. The judge ruled those accusations were irrelevant and inadmissible, but that didn't stop Zach Hughes from repeatedly making them during his testimony.
As soon as I left the house, I felt the most enormous wave of relief wash over me because I knew from that moment on to be safe from the sexual abuse that her mother was perpetrating on her. And there is proof to that the state is hiding from you.
Instruct him to be quiet.
Okay, you need to stop talking.
That was his third sort of outburst, I believe, which I was able to strike from the record. We don't know the circumstances surrounding Christina Parcell and her child and their relationship with Brad Post. And as far as this case is concerned, it does not matter. Assuming it's all true, Christina Parcell doesn't deserve to die the way that she did.
Investigators say it's also important to note that nobody knew of the allegations against Bradley Post until his arrest after Christina Parcell's murder.
Zach had never met Christina. The only thing that Zach knew about Christina was what he got from John Mello.
We found no evidence that Zachary Hughes knew anything about Bradley Post's alleged behavior prior to the murder.
But Zach Hughes' testimony isn't over yet, and there's one more bombshell to come.
I was shocked and insulted.
It was as close to a Matlock moment as you're going to get.
In this Greenville County Courthouse, classical pianist Zach Hughes has a rapt audience as he takes jurors step by step through how he says he killed Christina Parcell.
Did you take Christina Parcell's life?
Yes.
He made me think he just rehearsed it all, which he is a performer. I felt like he was trying to put on a performance.
So I just kept striking.
And if a confession from the witness stand wasn't shocking enough, Hughes drops another bombshell, testifying that his friend and Christina Parcell's ex, John Mello, offered to pay him on 2 separate occasions to kill her.
He asked me, would I be willing to kill Christina Parcell for $10,000?
It was as close to a Matlock moment as you're going to get.
I told him, John, there's no amount of money that would ever tempt me to do something like this. The only way I would ever consider taking action like this is if I was absolutely convinced that his daughter was not only in danger, but that the only way to rescue her from that danger would be to take Christina Parcell's life.
We reached out to John Mello about these allegations right after Zach Hughes' testimony, and he told us, quote, "It never happened."
I was incredulous to the absurdity of his statements, that he is going to sit there and decide when somebody gets to live or somebody gets to die based on his own personal judgments. That is absolutely absurd.
Before he made the decision to do this, did he have any physical proof that this child was in harm's way?
So I would say he did. He knew it with the information he had received from John Mello, with the documents he had received.
Zach Hughes says he also had the chance to see Christina's daughter while he was visiting John Mello in Italy, and Mello spoke to her over Zoom.
He said that he could notice a profound change in her demeanor. The light went out of her eyes. So there were other things like that that corroborated what he believed.
Now, after a full day of testimony, it's the prosecutor's turn to question Zach Hughes.
This is the opportunity of a lifetime for a prosecutor. I have the ability to cross-examine a confessed murderer, but you have to understand the position that I was in. Zachary Hughes was stating things on his direct examination that he was ordered by the court not to say. The battle in his mind was telling this jury information that they had no business hearing. And so I came up with a strategic decision to ask one question.
Mr. Hughes, when you dragged Christina Parcell across the floor of the front room where you killed her, did you drag her by her arm or by her ankle?
I don't remember for certain, but I think by the ankle.
That's all the questions I need to ask this, Your Honor.
And I left Zach Hughes with the inability to say what he really wanted to say.
We are about to begin closing arguments.
He confessed to killing Christina Parcell, but that in and of itself does not make him guilty of murder. The state must prove beyond a reasonable doubt malice. That is the intent, the knowledge, the mental part of murder. Just because Zachary Hughes' heart is so cold and so dead that it can't be angry, that is not a defense. Vigilante justice is not allowed in this state. The evidence is absolutely overwhelming. I'm going to ask you to find Zach Hughes guilty.
The case is now in the hands of the jurors, one of whom was this man, David Collins.
He confessed to the crime of taking Christina's life. None of us could believe what we were hearing. I was actually wondering why we were in the courtroom and having a trial.
After less than 3 hours of deliberations, the jury returns with a verdict.
Your Honor, as to the charge of murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
I don't understand how you could stab someone 30 times and be in a struggle with them without malice in your heart. He was trying to play God, and he was trying to play the judge, and he was trying to play the executor.
Before sentencing, Zach Hughes' father speaks to the court.
Thank you, Your Honor, for the opportunity to speak a few words on my son's behalf. He has such a strong moral compass and a desire for the truth that sometimes he actually hurts himself. I love my son. I'm proud of my son. Thank you, Your Honor.
Zachary David Hughes, you're to be committed to the State Department of Corrections for life.
The question now, will John Mello be the next person charged in this case? Are you worried they're going to arrest you in connection with this murder?
Please state your name for the record.
Zachary David Hughes.
Zach Hughes' unexpected courtroom testimony has now put the spotlight back on John Mello, prompting investigators to take action.
We discussed all the evidence we had against John Mello already, and then with Mr. Hughes' new statements, we believed there was enough to move forward with charges.
John Mello is charged with solicitation to commit a felony and accessory before the fact of murder.
Based on the nature of these charges and the situation involved in this case, I am going to no bond you.
One of the people in attendance at tonight's bond court hearing was Christina Parcell's sister.
You did this to your family. Your child has to know that you did this.
When I sat down with John Mello before Zach Hughes' trial, I asked him about the allegations swirling around him that he was somehow involved in this murder. Are you worried they're going to arrest you in connection with this murder?
2 years I've been here, did everything, DNA, fingerprints, you know, they talked about the telephone and the messages and what, there's nothing there.
But either you had some part of this, or you were caught in the craziest murder case that any of us have ever heard of.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. I'm caught up in it. All I did was try to do the right thing.
Did you have anything at all to do with the murder of Christina Parcell?
No, absolutely not. No.
We reached out to John Mello's attorney, but he declined to answer our questions and says he looks forward to his day in court. Mello has not yet entered a formal plea to these charges. Do you think in some ways that Zach was manipulated by John Mello?
Zach is an extremely intelligent person. He's a very disciplined person. He's not going to be manipulated by a person.
There should be justice. People should be held accountable for their actions, for willfully, willingly, cruelly hurting people in this world, whether you know them or not, whether they're family or not, whether you love them or not.
My lasting impression of this case is it was tragic. It was a heinous crime. It didn't have to happen.
And at the center of this tragedy, an innocent little girl left without her mother. Christina's daughter has been temporarily placed with friends of John Mello upon his request, following a family court ruling. Her Aunt Tina is currently fighting for custody of her.
Your niece. What do you want for her?
The same thing I've always wanted for her. My job is for her to be safe, healthy, and happy, specifically in that order. She deserves better than this.
Remembering her sister tonight and with hopes for her niece. And we should also note tonight that Zach Hughes has now appealed his conviction.
And David, as for John Mello and Bradley Post, both men remain in jail awaiting trials. That's our program for tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Deborah Roberts.
And I'm David Muir from all of us here at 2020 and ABC News. Good night.